All right, time good. Are we live? I think we are. Hello all and welcome back to the Women's Football Chat Live. We are back for the FA Cup quarter-final stages as Arsenal take on Brighton. Should be a good match-up today. Arsenal looking to go deep in a competition that they haven't had success in for quite a few years now, but a competition that, of course, they have such strong heritage in. As for Brighton, while a run that could get them to the semi-finals of the win today would be a great run for Vidicic's side. So a lot on the line for both teams, Harry. This does feel like, obviously Arsenal are still in the Champions League. This does still feel like their strongest chance of getting a trophy this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Arsenal views competition as one that they want to get back on track now. They want to get back to Wembley. As you say, it has been a couple years. They've won it 14 times, but they'd like to add a 15th to that, and I think it would help their cause. This is where it starts to get a bit more real. You're in the quarterfinals now. You're 2 games away from Wembley. You've come through the earlier rounds. Both sides have enjoyed pretty easy runs. Arsenal faced Bristol City and Aston Villa. Brighton faced West Ham and Nottingham Forest. So both sides have had pretty decent run, pretty easy runs to come to this stage. But now this is where it matters. As I say, that potential to play at Wembley, especially for a side like Brighton, would be massive. A very difficult challenge if they are to come through Arsenal today. And of course, the Gunners come into this as the favourites. But I think it's a matchup that Brighton will relish, and they'll look at it and try and pull off some special FA Cup upset. But Arsenal, as you say, I think this is a competition that they would love to get their hands on come the end of the season.
Well, it's been 5 years since they've reached the final and they lost to Chelsea in 2021. It's been 10 years now since they've won the Women's FA Cup. So, of course, they've got that strong heritage. But it does feel like the one Arsenal want to win. As much as they haven't won the UWCL since 2019, this is the one that I feel is really important for Arsenal this season. Of course, WSL out of their sights now. But it feels like a great opportunity to win the Women's FA Cup this year. Of course, there will be the added challenge if they do get through today. Chelsea and City, if Chelsea City also get through, those two sides don't have Champions League football, and Arsenal's schedule to end the season is really heavy. But Arsenal are in all those competitions. They want to go as deep as possible in all those competitions. They'll be confident they can give them a really good go at all 3 of them to see how far they can get. As for Brighton, well, they haven't got too much left to play for, so this does feel like a great opportunity to perhaps take advantage of a tired Arsenal team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Vidicic will look at this game and he'll fancy his side's chances. I think they've played well. They've got a knack for getting results against the big sides in the WSL, and I think that can translate to today. For 90 minutes, they can compete with an Arsenal side that are missing key players, did play in the week in the Champions League against Chelsea. There's a chance here for Brighton to try and nick something. And as I say, they have a knack of turning up in these big games. They've got players that can provide. They've got players that have won this competition before and knows what it takes to come through these games. So, of course, it's still really difficult, and it is still a good Arsenal team, but they are missing a couple of key players. They have rotated slightly as well in the front line. So I think Vidicic and Brighton will relish the opportunity to try and get a result here against a side like Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And while, just to sort of put into numbers how intense Arsenal's schedule has been, in March so far, Brighton have played 3 games, Arsenal have played 5. Yet to go this season, Arsenal have at least 8 games. The possibility of that being somewhere around 11 or 12 if they get through in all those competitions. So it's incredibly high. Or I think 10 now, sorry, because they've already got to the Champions League semi-finals. But they've got so many competitions in there. Brighton only have 3 games left in the WSL. They've only got the FA Cup to focus on. It does really feel like an opportunity. As much as Arsenal want to go deep in the FA Cup and get back to that perch, I think it's a great opportunity, really, for the Seagulls to swoop in and perhaps steal something here.
Yeah, it's a very difficult tie if you're Arsenal. I think for Brighton, they knew that if they get to the quarterfinals, no matter who they played, it was going to be quite difficult. But for Arsenal, I think that they'll look at this and, while City go and play Birmingham tomorrow, Charlton and Liverpool will also in that quarter-final draw. I think Arsenal will be a little bit frustrated that they picked up a side like Brighton, because we know Brighton have got the quality to cause something. And I think that will be a point of frustration. If Arsenal had to play a Charlton today, I think they'd much enjoy that, like the tie against Bristol City in the round of 16. But yeah, it's difficult because it's all about balance. It's hard to balance competitions. It's hard to balance priorities at this point in the season. And yeah, these are the kind of fixtures that can fall away, or you can slip up in because you prioritise other competitions like the Champions League. So it'll be interesting to see how Arsenal play it today. How the first start is massive. Of course, I like the Arsenal 11 has the ability to beat Brighton and look comfortable today, but we know that football is never as simple as that, especially in the FA Cup, especially in the quarter-finals. We've seen some magical things happen in this competition, and I think that Brighton will hope today that they can write another big FA Cup story.
Yeah, Phil echoing a similar thought there, saying, I love the FA Cup, but honestly wouldn't mind going out due to the ridiculous fixture pile-up we'll have to deal with. Well, let us know if you are an Arsenal fan, whether you agree with Phil's thoughts there in the live chat, whether you actually want to go and win the FA Cup this year. I mean, of course, Arsenal want to win everything, but would you prioritise the FA Cup? Would you prioritise the Champions League? Let us know in the live chat. With that said, though, let's get into the lineups for the sides today. We are at Meadow Park for Arsenal today, so we'll begin with the hosts. 4-2-3-1 for the Gunners. In goal, it's Daphne van Domselaar. A back four of Holmberg, Cadena, Ruben Moy and Taylor Hines. In the midfield pivot, it's of course Kim Little and Mariona Caldente. Then across the three, Mead, Marnham and Chloe Kelly, with Stina Blackstenius leading the line. So a fair bit of rotation in there. Russo dropping out of the side, a lot of change, almost all change in the back line, to be fair. It's good to see that rotation for Arsenal. The one position where they still can't rotate, though, is midfield. As we get to the busy point in the season, do you think they're going to start to feel the pain of a lack of options in midfield?
Yeah, I think so. You know, we saw it happen towards the end of the season last season, where the same two of Callante and Little had played a lot of minutes, and even when they did rotate, the quality wasn't quite there, and that's the problem they're going to find themselves in. Is either the quality won't be there when they do rotate, or they can't rotate. And I think
also Leah Valti last season. Let's not forget.
Yeah, that is true, but I think that, it's putting a lot of pressure and putting a lot of work on the legs of Callante and Little, and of course they're fantastic players, but they're not going to be able to deliver an 110% performance if they're playing every 4 days. That that is simply impossible for most players, really. So it's definitely something that Arsenal have got to will concern Arsenal, and if one of them picks up an injury, they're bang in trouble. So yeah, it's very hard to balance, and of course they're phenomenal players, but they will be feeling the effects of playing 90 minutes after 90 minutes after 90 minutes, and it will be interesting to see how they handle that going forwards.
Would you not trust a Palova in there, especially as Palova? I haven't checked the Netherlands side, but even if she is in that squad, she's not going to play in both games. She's not going to play all the minutes. We expect Mariona Caldente will play almost 180 over 2 games for Spain. Would you not trust Palova in today's game? Let her rest over the international break, and then give Caldente that rest heading into that busy period?
I think it's difficult for Slagers because ideally, yes, I think that would have been our aim, was to rotate that pivot. But with the amount of rotation they've been forced to do in other areas, it's put them in a difficult spot. Obviously, Williamson and Catley not available means they have to rotate through the centre halves. The front line, again, they've rotated there. And I think that to try and just keep a bit of familiarity, she's tried to keep the pivot the same. I think in an ideal world, yes, Palova would have come in for either Little or Caldente. But as I say, with the Catley picking up an injury in the midweek and players being shuffled around in the front line, I think Slags is just trying to keep a bit of familiarity in that midfield.
Yeah, but ultimately that could be to their detriment if either of those pick up an injury. They have been rather fortunate, I think. Caldente and Little have fantastic injury records, so they do seem to be okay there. But with the amount of fixtures, obviously, it can't be helped with Cooney Cross, but that's why you have backup players.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel that they have any backups, and the backups they do have, with the likes of Palova, just aren't really trusted. And we do see Palova play. She's played higher in that 10 role rather than the pivot. So they really don't have anyone right now. And as Phil says, not a problem, lads. We let Valti go, as Cadena can apparently do the job in central midfield. One, putting Cadena in there's a liability. But two, with the lack of centre-half options, the only senior centre-back now on the bench, or the only centre-back on the bench, I should say, is Harwood, who they haven't really trusted for minutes either. And again, they have had problems there with Williams picking up the injury, Catley being out at the Asian Cup, and of course, Katie Reid picking up an injury at the start of the season. But again, that's something that could have been addressed in the January transfer window. They have trusted McCabe in that position recently, so maybe that's something they could have looked to do. But they are at the moment just playing what is available. They do have a very strong bench, though, it has to be said, and they've done well, I think, to rotate quite a lot of that starting squad. Could it be to their detriment, though? Could it give Brighton an opportunity? Because Brighton are pretty much full strength. 4-3-3 for Brighton today. In goal, it's Chiamaka and Adozi. In the back four, it looks to be Rule, Hayes, Minami and Venegas, 4 centre-backs in the back line for Brighton. In the midfield, it's a pivot of Simmons and Kankovic. On one wing, it's Haley. On the other, Odeslagers. In the 10 role, Frank Kirby, who loves her game against Arsenal. And leading the line, it's Kiko Seke. Lots to like about this Brighton team. Interesting configuration, though, of the back four. Could it be a back five? What do you make of that?
I think it very much could be a back five. It'll be interesting to see which option Vidicic goes for. But I think that we have seen that in these kind of games, Brighton don't shy away from playing against stronger opposition. They don't try and sit defensive and absorb pressure. They play their way. And that's worked in some fixtures. It's also not worked in other games and they've been played off the park. But I would expect Vidicic to, again, be bold, to be positive and play that back four. I think bringing 4 centre-halves in anyway is making them more defensive than they usually are. So the personnel selection does more than the tactics will probably do. It's more similar to Arsenal men's side, where they play 4 centre-halves and just look to be very solid defensively. And I think Brighton will do the same here. They'll pack out their penalty area. They'll be happy for Arsenal to have the ball out wide, but anything that looks to come in that 18-yard box, they want to deal with. They've got to be strong aerially today. They've got their box defending's got to be, sharp, especially with the abundance of players that Arsenal will try and put in there. So they'll look to pack out the penalty area. They'll look to pack out the centre of the pitch, Brighton. But what they've done so well is that when they do get the ball, they get forward to make things happen. So I think going for 4 centre-halves it may make them quite narrow defensively, but it shouldn't hurt them too much when they come forward.
Yeah, I think that the big key battles are going to be in those wide areas today. You know what to expect from Kelly and Mead. Mead wants to come inside. She wants to operate in the pockets. So that's got to be accounted for. Chloe Kelly wants to hug the touchline. But if you are aware of those movements, then you can effectively deal with them. The big threat, as you say, could be aerially. Marnham in there and Blacksenius. They're gonna be looking for some aerial balls occasionally. Arsenal, especially, of course, with Chloe Kelly's fantastic crossing ability, they've got that option in there today. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they try and handle the Arsenal attack that have been really strong in recent weeks. But yeah, interesting to see Brighton go for a back four. Before we get into predictions in just a moment, let's touch on Olav Tvedten. Still not starting for Brighton. They're playing seemingly Olaslagers on the wing today rather than playing Tvedten. It feels a little bit weird to me.
Yeah, it does surprise me. Of course, whenever a new signing comes in, you expect to have that bit of grace period where they're adjusting to the environment. They're being part of the squad and they're just getting up to speed. But I would have expected Tvedten to be starting by now. We've seen her quality in the Champions League. We saw her quality when she played for Vålerenga domestically. I'm really surprised that we haven't seen more minutes for her. I think she's a top player, and the fact that Brighton haven't really given her a go yet is a strange one. I think especially in the FA Cup. Of course, they'd like to get through, and of course they're playing Arsenal, but at the end of the day, this is a bit of a free hit. No one really expected to get through today, and getting to the quarterfinals is an achievement in itself. So why don't you give Tvedten a go to go and show her quality against one of the best sides in Europe and see what she can do? And she's not going to come on and be rubbish because we know the quality that she's got. So it's a strange one that we haven't seen Tvedten involved more since she joined the club.
She's played 57 minutes in 3 months.
Wow.
Not exactly the impact January signing that perhaps they were hoping for. So, that's been a little bit disappointing. Only got 1 minute against Leicester City, which feels like the prime opportunity to throw someone in for their first start. But yeah, I think that could be a bit of a shame for Brighton today. They are lacking, I think, an out-and-out goal scorer, but Seike being back, Haley's been in decent form, Frank Kirby back to fitness as well. They've all come back at the right time, really, for Brighton. They've had a decent run recently. The end of the season's really tough. They play Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal, and Tottenham. So no easy games in there really at all for Brighton. But yeah, we'll see what they can get. And of course, they would love a shot at the FA Cup semi-finals if they can get through today. Let's get into predictions then. Players out on the field. So if you're watching onto the show, let us know your prediction in the live chat. We're going to kick things off in the studio. And as always, Harry, you can get us started. What's your prediction as Arsenal host Brighton?
I think it'll be a close one. I don't see either side running away with it, but I am going to say Arsenal to come through and make it into the semi-finals. I think Brighton will put up a strong defence, but Arsenal's quality will come through towards the end of the game. I will say Arsenal 2, Brighton 0. A bit of a carbon copy of the Aston Villa game that Arsenal had 2 rounds ago, where it was a close game, but Arsenal came away with a 2-0 victory. But yeah, I will say Arsenal win 2-0. I will say Blacksenius to get 1, and then Russo off the bench to seal the game in the latter stages. And yeah, Arsenal into the last 4.
Fair enough, yeah. Sensible prediction. I'm going to back the upset. Someone's got to do it. I look at the FA Cup games this weekend, and I don't see where else the upset comes. Possibly Tottenham, Chelsea, but with the lack of players Chelsea have and the lack of form, would that even be much of an upset right now? I'm not sure. But Yeah, I think Brighton can get one over Arsenal. I think it's going to be 2-1. I see the way Brighton have built up in the last few years under Vidicic. There's always opportunity for a mistake in there, and Arsenal are so good at pressing high and capitalising. So I think they're going to have a goal in there. But I think looking at where Brighton can perhaps maximise their strengths and minimise Arsenal's, it's going to be a transitional threat. They've got Seike, they've got Haley, players that are really good in behind. And an Arsenal backline with Kadina, and we saw how much she struggled when Chelsea targeted her in behind in the first leg of the Champions League. So I think that's something Brighton will look to utilise today. If they can, I can see them pulling off a 2-1 upset and getting in to the FA Cup semi-finals. Right to get underway here at Meadow Park, though. It's Brighton to kick us off in this FA Cup quarter-final. Arsenal hosting Brighton for a shot at the semis. And from the middle, it's knocked back by Simmons and launched forwards by Kankovic. We're underway in this game. And Hines failing to deal with that long ball. Out now for a Brighton throw.
Yeah, early stages are massive, as you say, especially for Brighton, because they've got to make sure that they get into the game, that their build-up is error-free, really. If they, you don't want to be giving away cheap goals. Arsenal, though, very good in the press, and they'll want to start fast and just give themselves something to defend early doors.
I wonder if that is why Brighton have gone for 4 centre-backs today. 4 players that are perhaps a little bit more safe with possession rather than, and a little bit more defensive in their mindset, rather than being too aggressive. Because I think we have seen at times, I mean, Olaslaga's in that role as a fantastic player, but we know Marissa Olaslaga wants to get forward at every opportunity, and that could just be a bit of a vulnerability. So playing on the wing today could help ease that. Caldente fizzing it forwards, held up well by Stina Blackstenius, who pops it into Marnham. Marnham round the corner nicely into Hines. Hines finds Kelly in the wide space. Now Marnham. Back to Chloe Kelly. And Charlie's Rule jumping on her. Kelly to Caldente. Marnham looking to slip it in behind to find Blackstenius. Minami a little bit too aggressive. I think it was clean, and it's an offside flag against Blackstenius either way.
Yeah, I think that flag will be a very welcome sign for Minami, who was probably the right side of the law, but I have to say, grabbing Blackstenius' shirt within a minute in the penalty area is a big risk to take in an FA Cup quarter-final.
Yeah, I think she does enough to get to the ball because Blackstenius is behind her, but so she's not pulling her away from the ball. She's almost pulling her with her. But yeah, I think that was a little bit risky from Minami in the box. Predictions rolling in then. GT going 2-1 Brighton. Agneta saying 3-0 Arsenal. David saying 4-2 Brighton. That'll be an FA Cup classic. And Kankovic coming forward here. Takes aim from range. Wow. What a stop. A fantastic save from Daphne Van Domselaar, who was so crucial in Arsenal's Champions League game in the week. And another big stop here, tipping Kankovic's effort over the bar.
Superb save. Kim Little falls foul of the Brighton press and loses out to Kankovic, who's just given too much time and space to run towards goal and let fly. And that looks destined for the top corner. But as you say, Van Domselaar picking up where she left off from Wednesday and pulling out another big save early doors. But again, Brighton showing that being aggressive and that their pressing is still incredible against some of the biggest sides.
Absolutely. Corner now then for Brighton. Delivered in towards the front post. This time flicked up in the air by Haley. Haley gets to it, heads it goalwards off the line. A shot now into a crowd of bodies. There's a call for handball in there and Kirby is adamant. Still pleading with the referee now. Rule. Now to Olaslaga's. Back to Rule, and that's a slip from Charlie's Rule. Lets the ball under her foot. But Brighton really putting Arsenal under the pressure. Big save from Van Domselaar and 2 goal line clearances from the Gunners.
Yeah, I have to say, Brighton really should be ahead. It's Haley's header off the line initially, and then it was Rule who drilled the shot
and
goal.
It's one high again here for Brighton. Haley pokes it through. Here's Kiko Seike. Can she find a teammate with the pass? Seike tries to go through the legs of Hines. Hines wins it back, and Seike, has she forced off the pitch there? Not quite. Now she has. And that'll be another corner for Brighton, keeping on the early pressure.
Yeah, brilliant start from Brighton and a bit of a European hangover maybe for Arsenal. But this is a very strong start from Vidicic's side, and they'll be frustrated they haven't made it count so far. Really should have scored from the first corner, and they've got another opportunity here to put Arsenal's the back line under more pressure.
Indeed, and it's Kankovic again. If she can muster up a similar quality of corner, this could pose yet more danger. In towards the front post, cleared away by Holmberg without much issue out for a Brighton throw. Not the routine not paying off quite as well there. Throwing taken quickly. Here's Helena Kankovic. playing it into Haley. Options on the edge of the box now. It's back to Rule, who just gets that stuck in her feet again there. Here's Kankovic. The pass around the corner to Kirby. Kirby turning out, looking to play. Olaslagers shifting it back to Minami. And now Rule. Rule knocks it wide and it's swung into the area, looking for options in the box. It bounces around, not dealt with by Wubben-Moy. Shot from Venegas is blocked. Venegas again, and a good save from Daphne Van Domselaar. One-way traffic, though, and not in the way we'd expect.
Yeah, exactly. Brighton are really up for this. And again, that intensity that we kind of associate with Brighton is there. And Arsenal just haven't been able to clear their lines. It's been a very scrappy start, especially in their own penalty area. They just don't look comfortable at the moment. And it's another ball in that's bouncing around. It's causing problems. And Brighton, again, Venegas couldn't quite connect with it properly. But promising stuff from Brighton in this game.
Here's Minami, and she was looking to go direct. Plays it short into Maisie Simmons, and they are under pressure here. Brighton, Little steps in and knocks that out of play. Daisy asking, where can you watch this? A reminder, today's coverage is exclusively on TNT Sports. The only game this weekend which isn't on TNT Sports and is free to air in the UK is Chelsea-Tottenham tomorrow. Arsenal in possession once again, inside to Kim Little. And Little losing out to Haley. Here come Brighton again now. Madison Haley knocks it forwards as Kirby stayed on side. Not in the eyes of the lino. It flags Frank Kirby offside.
Yeah, Kirby did just go too early there. But again, it's Little getting picked off in the press. It was by Kankovic a few moments ago. This time it's from Haley, who played a good ball into Kirby. But yeah, Kirby had just ran beyond the last defender. And although it has been a slow start from Arsenal, the main thing is that at the moment they're coming out of it unscathed, which would be important because they really haven't got going, but they're still level. And that'll be the main thing if you're Rene Slagers and Arsenal. But they've got to come into this game soon because if it continues like this, you'd expect Brighton to find the back of the net at some point.
Well, I mean, they've got to get one over the line eventually, haven't they? So many chances so far for Brighton. I make it 4 shots, all of which have been on target by my count. Great work so far from the Seagulls. And their high pressing gives them rewards once again. Haley picking off that forward pass from Cadena. And the ball knocked home by Hayes. And Brighton settling in possession. Here's Enadozie playing it through the lines and finds Venegas here, who's coming forwards from the left-back position, driving the ball inside and tries to open the play. But it's cut out by Haley on accident and bounces through to Van Domselaar.
Again, it's really good play out of the back from Brighton. The pass from Enadozie into Venegas is brilliant through the lines. And yeah, just a bit unfortunate that the cross-field switch was cut out by our own player.
Indeed. Wubben-Moy. Now Kim Little. Plays it to Cadena. Now wide. Chloe Kelly looking to knock it down the line. It's one back in there by Haley, who's having a lot of joy winning the ball back on that right-hand side. And Enadozie fizzing it forwards. Wubben-Moy steps it into midfield and tries to knock it out to Chloe Kelly. But it's so frantic for Arsenal. And again there, Wubben-Moy jumps on that ball, jumps into midfield. She's then in a very, very congested area and she just has to try and knock it forwards. And it was very difficult for Chloe Kelly to try and control that. And Brighton back in possession. Olaslagers finding a load of space here on the left-hand side. Knocks it wide now and Venegas overlapping up against Holmberg. Holmberg gets back in, wins it back, but running it out of play. Great intensity again there from Brighton. Venegas loses the ball but goes and puts pressure and forces another mistake. Kankovic, Olaslagers round the corner. A little too fast there for Manuela Venegas.
Yeah, Arsenal have got to switch it up. They've got to realise that it's going to be difficult to play out against this Brighton press. But what they've got is Brighton's line is incredibly high. And when you've got Stina Blackstenius up front, they've got to be more direct and try and get her in behind. And if anything, just to take a bit of the pressure off.
Indeed, Arsenal now have found a way through being more direct. Here's Chloe Kelly breaking down the left-hand side. Can she find a teammate? Blackstenius inside to Caldente. Opens up space for the shot across goal. And Enadozie with a good stop to push it wide.
Yeah, again, all comes because Wubben-Moy's played that ball long in towards Blackstenius and Brighton don't quite deal with it. Space opens up on that left-hand side and they work it inside well. And Caldente, it's a good touch and a decent strike. But Enadozie does well to get down to it but better from Arsenal. Just realising that playing out's going to be difficult and looking to be a bit more aggressive and a bit more direct.
So it's Beth Mead over this corner. Arsenal looking to find joy, similarly to Brighton a few moments ago, where Brighton put Arsenal under all kinds of pressure, but the delivery straight into the hands of Enadozie. Needed to be a better ball that from Beth Mead.
Yeah, you've got a bold goalkeeper, Enadozie, who's very comfortable coming off her line and coming out into her penalty area and picking up the ball, and that was an easy claim.
It makes it difficult, but it also gives you an opportunity. If you put it in a position where there's that 50-50 of whether you go, or whether you don't, Enadozie's always going to go.
Yeah.
So you can create situations where she commits for the ball when perhaps she shouldn't. That's what they've got to try and target today. But if you float a ball in like that, Chiamaka Enadozie won't have any issue claiming it. Cadena into Little. Arsenal do seem to be a little better in possession now. Mead slipping it through the lines. And Enadozie, though, happy to sweep and smash it away.
And that is where the problem does come slightly of being more direct and trying to get back chances in behind, is that Enadozie is one of the best sweeper keepers in the league.
I think the best.
Yeah.
Is there a better sweeper goalkeeper in the world? A player who's, any ball over the top, she's running.
Yeah, true. So they've got to find a way to be direct, but take a bit off it, because if not, you're just inviting Enadozie to come and clear it away.
And here is Chiamaka Enadozie. Lifting it out to the right-hand side. Hayes is going to knock it in behind, and in behind the Arsenal backline or in behind the ground is the question. It goes out on the right-hand side here.
Tell you what, I don't think Brighton will mind that, though, because it's given Arsenal a throw-in deep in their own half.
I think that's what Brighton are forcing today, is moments where Arsenal are trying to build up from deep places, because they know they can get an advantage from that. Header inside is smashed away by Little. Header nodded forwards by Minami. Hines puts it up in the air. Headed it back in the other direction by Simmons. Now Caldente. And she's dispossessed well. Brighton are basically playing the same way Arsenal are. And that's a real problem for Arsenal. Because Arsenal really thrive against teams who want to have all of the ball.
Yeah.
We've seen that, I think, in games against Arsenal, against Chelsea and City, particularly this season. They're really good at being the underdogs. But Brighton want to play exactly the same way. So they're just giving Arsenal the ball back and telling them, well, come and play.
Yeah, it's very much like, you have the ball. No, you have the ball. Neither side really, both sides are much better out of possession than they are in possession.
Hayes knocking it wide. Here's Rule. And now back to Caitlin Hayes. Minami knocks it to the left-hand side. Oleslagers. Okankovic, lifting it forwards. Picked off in there by Venegas, who's going to carry this forwards now. Looking for support. Coming wide with the ball. Lifts it in there. Venegas to the back post. Haley tries to cushion it to a teammate. But it's won back well by Cadena. And now drops in midfield for Maisie Simmons. Hayes. Kankovic. Back to Caitlin Hayes. Knocking it down the line, and Haley trying to touch it round the corner, but Charlie's Rule would have to be a 100-metre sprinter to get towards that one. And it's out for an Arsenal throw.
We're seeing a couple of times where Brighton having 4 centre-halves on the pitch is hurting them slightly. I think Venegas has done quite well, actually, of bombing on and making these runs beyond, but I think they're struggling on the right-hand side. Haley needs someone to kind of link up with there.
Here is Haley. Kankovic round the corner looking for Fran Kirby. Hines now lifting it into midfield, and Marnham can't keep it under her control. Here's Helena Kankovic. Simmons taking it off her teammate, Venegas. Now Mweka Minami. I mentioned earlier Fran Kirby loves playing against Arsenal. I feel it's Helena Kankovic's favourite opposition as well.
Yeah.
Always seems to put in a good performance and already running the show out there. That's a late challenge from Beth Mead and a free kick for Brighton. Venegas brought down.
Yeah, I think Brighton will be really frustrated they didn't score with those early chances, because if they were playing like this with a lead to defend, they'd be in a brilliant position, because they look comfortable right now, but the problem is they've got to still find a goal.
Ball down the line, and here's Kiko Seike. Has on rushing support in blue and white, tries to knock it down the line, and that ball not finding a teammate, no one quite on the same wavelength.
Yeah, again, Seike just looking to be positive, but when you're the focal point, you drag wide, you kind of need you know that you've left a bit of space there, and you need someone to take your position.
To be fair, I think that's what Brighton will look to do today, though, because you can drag Seike wide and let Frank Kirby burst into that space, which I think is quite a strong partnership between the two of them. Obviously, Seike naturally a winger, Frank Kirby kind of naturally a striker.
Yeah.
Cadena now to Hines. Changes with Frida Marnham, now goes down the line, and that does take a touch off of Haley. And Kelly trying to take the throw quite high up the pitch there. Referee sending her back. Hines takes the throw instead. Marnham fashions a pass to Hines, and it's cut out there as Hines tried to find Blacksenius. Ball through the lines, though, from Charlie's Raw is just overhead.
Yeah, that was a little bit forced. And that's what Brighton can't afford to do. If they turn, I get.
I don't mind, to be fair, because I think if Seike gets there, that's a great chance.
Yeah.
And if not, it's give Arsenal the ball again. Just kind of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Caldente carries through the lines. A couple challenges in there, which she evades well. Now Cadena. Caldente going to look to introduce some verticality. Ball to mid. He's made a good run. Venegas holds her up. Now to Holmberg in a shooting position. Charged down well by Marissa Ollislagers. And a corner to follow for Arsenal.
Yeah, better from Arsenal. And that's where Brighton can get caught a little bit too narrow. It's a good run from Mead off the shoulder of Venegas. And she does well to bring it down and lay it off to Holmberg, who is charged down by Ollislagers and out for another corner. But better from Arsenal. Again, they've got a bit more direct with it. Picked out Mead and they've got themselves a corner out of it.
I guess that's the advantage of using Ollislagers as more of a wing-back role, is that she can have the defensive responsibility of dealing with Smila Holmberg. Mead floating it in there, headed away well. Hines will look to keep this move alive. Rule getting out there quickly. Hines running it off the field of play, but it's sloppy there from Taylor Hines.
Yeah, Rule does really well. Just gets out to her, but doesn't commit, doesn't get too tight or give away a foul. Just does well, makes Hines make the wrong decision, and ends up running out of play herself.
Yeah.
Even if Brighton then did make a complete mess of the throw and give it straight back.
Caldente lifting it in there and lifting it into the hands of Chiamaka Nadozi. It's aggressive from Brighton. And the way we're seeing the wide centre-backs push up in moments, the way they're using the wing-backs, they're not defensive players. It's getting Ollislagers and Rule in positions where they can make a difference. Forwards now towards Ollislagers, who wasn't able to hold on to possession. And Holmberg launching the ball forwards. Blacksenius holds it up. Minami does well, though. And Blacksenius offside again. I think Minami will be a little bit frustrated there. She dealt with Blacksenius perfectly. And Brighton had the opportunity to pounce. But here's a free kick. Hayes. Back to Mweka Minami. And now Simmons. Venegas. Inside to Minami. And now finds Simmons. And Brighton have just vacated that central area. Looking to be direct, looking to find the width. And Rule now is looking to lift it over the top and wide, but lifted out of play.
Yeah, again, it's another one that's just tried to go direct from Brighton and not quite come off. There are a couple of them between Hayes and Rule on that right-hand side. Just look to put it behind Hines, and it hasn't really come off yet.
Indeed. Jumping up there, Charlie's Rule and stopping Caldente progressing. Throwing now for Arsenal on the far side. Header won well by Hayes, launched the other direction by Little. Minami now heading it forwards, and Haley up against Taylor Hines. Does well to hold the ball up, and now back into Hayes, who can step up confidently with possession. Haley, Rule just dropping back into the centre-half position. And now Enadozi into Minami. Ollislagers under pressure from Holmberg, goes back to Enadozi. Brighton under pressure here. Enadozi trying to lift that ball wide, but Venegas can't quite keep it in touch. That will be an Arsenal throw. Great pressure there from Arsenal. That's where Brighton perhaps just ran out of options.
Yeah. Again, I think that moment of realisation's got to come quicker. And rather than still trying to play out of it, someone in a Brighton shirt's just got to go direct.
Arsenal get advantage there as Beth Mead was brought down out wide to the left-hand side. Kelly. Now Hines. Caldente. Back into Chloe. Kelly wants to come inside with the ball. Goes back now to Taylor Hines. Little. Caldente knocking it into Frida Mahn, who made that run beyond. Back now to Kelly, who can deliver from this position. Not a great cross, though, and it's headed away by Mwaka Minami. That ball just always seemed to be heading further away from goal. With Moy trying to smash that one forwards. Brighton turning it over, though. Simmons. And now Olaslagers. That's a great ball into Seike. A touch a little heavy. Kadina deals initially. Seike tries to flick it to Kirby. Should have looked to flick it to Haley, really.
Yeah, touch had to be better initially, and then, got a second bite at it and should have looked to go to Haley rather than Kirby.
Lena Kankovic there, but Arsenal were breaking away. It appears just to have pulled down Frida Mahn, and Helena Kankovic is not happy at all with that decision. I'm not sure if you can have too many complaints. I mean, to be fair, she doesn't touch Mahn much, does she?
No. It's a difficult one because she's stopped a promising breakaway, but in terms of the actual contact, it's a very soft foul. But if you're going to give it, you've kind of got to book her.
A light brush on the arm, though, doesn't make a player go down like that.
And I can understand as a player why you'd be frustrated. You know, there's barely been a foul in the first 20 minutes. So to pick up a yellow for quite a small piece of contact is a bit unlucky.
It's a difficult one for the ref. That's a very hard one to give a simulation.
Yes.
As much as it is, there is contact.
Yeah.
Sorry now for Brighton. I look to go down the line. Hey, Twfc, welcome to the stream this afternoon, everyone. Afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed the first 20 minutes and welcome to the stream. It's been an enjoyable first 27 minutes, or first 20 minutes to watch so far.
From a neutral point of view, I think, yeah.
Brighton very much matching Arsenal.
Yeah, I think Arsenal fans will be a little bit frustrated with what they've seen so far. Brighton fans will be very happy, but yeah, overall it's been exactly what you want from an FA Cup quarter final, where it's two sides who are playing very similarly at the moment.
Indeed. I would actually argue Rene Slager is probably the slightly happier of the managers, though. I think Vilicic will be frustrated that Brighton haven't capitalised and found a goal yet.
Yeah.
Ruben Moy lifting it down the line, whereas Slagers will be well aware that the longer this game stays 0-0, the more it goes in Arsenal's favour. You look at the options they have off the bench, and while they wouldn't want to have to turn to some of those players, you bring on your Russos, you bring on your Olivia Smiths. That does make a big difference in attack.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they've got options should they need them. Venegas stepping in well, another soft one. Venegas is going to get a talking to here from the referee, just stepping up onto Beth Mead.
But this is what Brighton can't afford to do. Venegas has come a long way there just to commit a foul, and she doesn't really need to do it. You know, she's covered a lot of ground just to kind of smash into Beth Mead, and there's no need. That's clumsy. You know, you need to be disciplined. You need to be, balanced in these kind of games, and that is a little bit of a silly free kick, really, to give away for Venegas. He's had a good 20 minutes, but just a bit of a rogue moment there. Although if you are going to step up, it's better you commit the foul than to, let someone get in behind.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Arsenal will try and use this now as a deep free kick opportunity. Beth Mead over this. Who can she pick out with this delivery? Mead lifting it in there. And, lifting it straight, thrown out for a Brighton goal kick. I think they'll be fairly happy with how that one's panned out, Brighton.
Yeah. Not a great ball in from Mead, although no one's seen the move from when the initial free kick was taken. But yeah, it's not what Arsenal were looking to do. And again, when you've been up against it for the majority of the first 23 minutes and you get a set piece in a promising position, they're the kind of things you've got to use in these kind of games, especially. You score a free kick, you score from a corner, that can just get you in the game.
Yeah. A tussle on the right-hand side there. Won well, though, by Kelly in the end. Here's Caldente. Trying to go down the line, but it's won back by Haley. And intercepted heart of the pitch here by Blackstenius. Kankovic tries to make up for it. Caldente heads down and losing out to Helena Kankovic. Little now with a strong challenge. It's a real mess there in the middle of the pitch, but it's cleared away by Hayes. And now Holmberg tries to go around Kankovic. A Brighton throw. Taken quickly. Kankovic. Venegas. Kankovic. Poked wide to Oleslagers. He thought about that ball in behind for Kirby. Just didn't quite have the space to pull it off. Simmons. Oleslagers. Now Venegas. Back now to Minami. Trying to poke it forwards, and it's one high by Little. Mead. Oleslagers does well, and Mead then committing the foul, and I think that's somehow gone the way of Arsenal.
It's a really clumsy one, and it's clumsy from both. But this is the problem is that yes, Oleslagers comes through Mead, but that's because Mead tries to hold her off. You can't if you stop and someone runs into you, you can't really. Yeah, it's very fortunate.
It's a foul from Beth Mead. I think that's gone completely the wrong way. I think the referee sees the mechanism of contact and thinks it's Oleslagers pushing Mead down, but that's because Mead jumps across her to stop her from progressing. Nothing wrong with what Oleslagers has done there, and the free kick has come to nothing once again. Oleslagers clearing it forwards. Kirby losing out to Mead. Mead losing out to Kirby, knocks it out of play. Arsenal with a throw-in.
Yeah, just a couple of errors starting to sneak in, though, with Brighton playing out. And they haven't led directly to goals so far, but they've got to be careful. They're just getting caught a couple times.
Nice turn from Blackstone across the box. Cleared away well by Caitlin Hayes. And Holmberg trying to carry up the line, but running it off the field of play.
Yeah, brilliant from Blackstenius, this. Throw gets flicked on towards her, and she uses Minami almost as a pivot point and just spins her. And the cutback, it's the right idea. She's looking for Marnham, but it's a good interception by Hayes. But what a flick round the corner from Canante, and that turn, superb from Blackstenius. Just couldn't find the cutback.
Minami's had a really good game, but I think there just has to be a little bit stronger really with Blackstenius. I think a little naive in that moment. Mead winning the ball high up the pitch here. Venegas continuing into the box. Mead always looking for the foul there. Venegas doesn't give her the chance. Caldente lifts it in there. It's nodded away, but an Arsenal corner now.
Yeah, again, better from Arsenal, who are just starting to come into this game now. Brighton getting caught on the ball in their own third yet again. And this feels like the story of Brighton games where they look really strong on the ball, and then they start to get caught out, and then eventually you feel that it feels inevitable that an error is going to come soon, and it's going to lead to a goal or a big chance. You know, they've got to be careful that they don't get punished for these errors that are just starting to creep in. And although Arsenal, to be fair, have not used set pieces well so far today.
Can they use this one better? Taken short. Mead puts the ball in there. And no is the answer to that question. Another poor ball from Beth Mead.
Yeah, if you're going to go short, it's because you want to try and get a different angle or something, but they gained nothing from that because it was almost like a direct 1-2.
I think they tried to create separation in the box, didn't they, where players naturally fan out because it's been taken short and you get players rush to it and the likes. And then they tried to put the ball in at the front post, but there was no one there for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Haley carrying inside. Hines pulls her back. Caldente, though, does win the ball cleanly, and Hines not penalised for the pull.
Haley's been brilliant.
With a might. Maxenius poking round the corner and somehow just about finding Beth Mead. Mead trying to take on Venegas inside to Blackstenius. Holmberg was dropping from an offside position, so Mead's got to take it once again. Back to Smila Holmberg. Not an easy ball to bring down that one. Now Caldente. Here's Kim Little. Cadena. Lifting it forwards. It's a great ball through the lines if Holmberg can get there, which she will. Now needs support, Smila Holmberg. Back to Caldente. Shifts it inside a little. One more onto Mead. Back now to Kadina. Hines. Marnham. Taking it wide. And now Kelly lifts the ball in there. Chance for Arsenal. Wow. Big save for Anadozi. And it's cleared away by Minami. They did well there, Arsenal. It was patient. And they just pulled Brighton apart a little bit. A great delivery from Chloe Kelly, but a fantastic save at close range from Anadozi. Ball slipped through again. Looked like Kelly had gone too early. Looks across and the assistant referee keeps her flag down. Ball bouncing around the area now. Marnham, Caldente. And it's one back well, and here come Brighton. Kankovic to Kirby. Lifting it forwards. Here's Kiko Seike. Isolated here though, needing support from her teammates. Seike goes down the line. Now turns back. And it's a poor pass, and Woodenboy winning it. Just didn't really have the options there as she broke away, Kiko Seike.
Yeah, didn't have options, but had to try and get something out of it. But end-to-end football. Arsenal, though, really coming into life in this game. And Brighton just had to absorb a bit of pressure in the last 5 minutes.
I think Brighton could have done more with that counter, though.
Oh, yeah.
They did well to not concede, but yeah, I think they should have done more there. Arsenal were caught high. Just didn't really have the support up there for Kiko Seike.
Yeah, it didn't do enough. But looking back at Zendozi's save, as you say, what a ball this is from Chloe Kelly. And it's... Who is it? Is it Blackstenius? Was it Blackstenius?
I think it's Marnham, isn't it? Blackstenius pulled wide with the ball.
That's Holmberg. Holmberg pops up in there.
Yeah.
Who's
that inverted run?
Yeah, been a bit quiet, been a bit shut down by Ollislagers, but pops up there. And it's a fantastic save from Anadozi, but from that kind of range, Holmberg's really got to find the back of the net.
Yeah, definitely. Got to do better there, Smila Holmberg.
Yeah, both sides have now had, both goalkeepers have pulled off some big saves and had ones off the line. Still 0-0 though.
Kankovic, Haley, trying to turn in there, Simmons, and it's brought down. Free kick now for Brighton.
Yeah, that'll be a welcome free kick for Brighton, just to maybe slow the game down a little bit and get them up the pitch. But no, half an hour gone. Probably first 15, 20 minutes was Brighton's, and then the last 10, 15's been Arsenal's. Overall, a very balanced start.
Minami now to Venegas, trying to lift it forward. Seike can't quite get there. Kadina lashing it up in the air, and Ollislagers something to compete for here up against Chloe Kelly. Kelly poking it back inside, and Kim Little will let Caldente take over. Wubben-Moy. Now Caldente. Lifting that ball over the top, and it's a good run. Off the shoulder here from Blackstenius, needing support. Holmberg has become narrow once again. Ollislagers, though, stands her up and makes a good challenge. Well-tracked run by Marissa Ollislagers.
Yeah, Ollislagers done a brilliant job of just keeping Holmberg quiet in this game.
Wubben-Moy. I lift the ball in there, and there was a collision in the penalty area. It's Beth Mead on the ground again. And the referee, not interested, to be fair, not much of a call there from any of the Arsenal players.
No, Mead felt she was being grabbed, but she seems to get herself involved in quite a lot of tussles nowadays.
She'll be on the floor, I think, every 5 seconds in this game so far. It's not been her finest display. Caldente. Now Kadina. Hines round the corner well. Little. Hines. Inside now to Mead in the pocket. Can she find a teammate? Holds on probably a little too long there. Caldente. Mead. Back to Mariona Caldente. Wide now with Taylor Hines, who lifts it in there. Nodded down by Holmberg. Kelly will work hard to get there. I think since Arsenal swapped the wingers, they've just they've looked a little more dangerous. Kelly. Little through the lines, and it'll run through to Anadozi. But that's what's allowing Holmberg to make the inverted run. I think that's just after Kelly put the ball into Holmberg, they've swapped that.
Yeah.
So, and then Mead's coming inside and it allows Hines to overlap. It's just giving, I think, a little bit of difference. Before, you've got Kelly and Hines who both want to hold width, and Holmberg who's able to come inside or hold or go wide, and then Beth Mead who can, do both as well. But yeah, I think swapping them has given them a bit more of a difference on both wings. Haley, Kirby, looking at forward, Seike in that physical contest with Kadina. That's what you've got to eliminate today. If it's a physical battle between those two, Kadina can edge that.
Yeah.
They have to make it, a pace one. They've got to put Seike in behind. It's about physicality. You think should be okay in there, Kadina. Haley stepping onto the ball well. Now knocking it to the edge for Olis Slagers, and Holmberg slits, but does manage to get in front of the ball. Caldente now with Mead. Arsenal with numbers coming forwards. Beth Mead lifting the ball in. And no issues for Enadozi. He comes and claims it.
Yeah, Brighton just haven't been able to make the ball stick up there. And it's allowing Arsenal to have more consistent chances and consistent pressure.
Simmons into Hayes. And back to Enadozi, who lifts it wide now to Venegas. Venegas does well, trying to go up the line. And a good challenge from Kelly, who forces her inside. Now Blackstenius holds onto the ball and a shot across goal, but can't quite find the bottom corner.
Yeah, again, it's too slow, and it's they're under too much pressure. Brighton playing out, get caught on the ball again. Venegas gives it away, and yeah, Blackstenius, it's really good work rate from Kelly to win it back. The ball in is good. Blackstenius as well to control it with her chest and just drags it wide, searching for that far corner.
Yeah, 10 minutes left to go in this half. Then it's worth remembering that Arsenal didn't score in the first half of their round of 16 tie against the last round tie, was it Aston Villa?
Bristol City Bristol City in the round of 16, and Villa before that. Villa, and again, I think that tie was the Villa game.
They had a chance in the first half, but it was more even than Arsenal just took a bit more control in the second.
Yeah. Yeah, that was around a 32.
Yeah, of course, things a little easier against Bristol City, to be fair. But yeah, that tie against Aston Villa, similar to how this game has started. I guess someone posed the question as well earlier about. I was just going to see if I can find it. Locus says, has Brighton got enough off the bench to maintain this kind of intensity? And that's going to be the real question. I mean, players like Camacho and Tvedson, absolutely, I think, can come on and offer similar attributes, possibly even more than they've got at the moment in the case of Ola Tvedson. Defensively, they've got Mpome. It's the midfield, really. Nordam can come on, though. Sonoda. So they have got options, Brighton. Ola Slagers. Now to Kankovic. Wriggling her way free. And now to Simmons. Venegas. Haven't really seen a shot, though, for Brighton in the last... I mean, they had 5, I think, the first 5 minutes, and haven't had a shot since.
Yeah.
Caldente coming forward. Kankovic tries to come across, and that just forces Caldente to send the ball long. And it's picked up by Moeka Minami.
I think with the Brighton subs as well, it really depends what the game state is. If Brighton are ahead or it's a level, then I think that they won't need the intensity too much, and they'll look to try and shut it out and play better
for Maisie Simmons. It's just going to create a bit of space now for Venegas, who tries to play inside. It's brought down in there. Not necessary, that, from Chloe Kelly.
Yeah, that's a let-off of Venegas because the pass was rubbish again.
She ran into a congested area and just got clipped.
Yeah, she's given the ball. She
ran inside. There wasn't really the space for it. There's been times where Venegas has carried inside really well, but there just wasn't the space.
Yeah, just a few times now, like just giving possession away cheaply, and that can be costly. Yeah, but I think Brighton now, with the way the game's going, we're looking at half time, 7 minutes. Just get to the break level. Don't allow Arsenal to nick a goal.
Oh, a nervy pass out there from Van Domselaar, but Kim Little does just about get there. Moy playing a brave pass again back to Little. It's picked up in midfield now as it was sent long by Arsenal. Arsenal turn it over though. Little. Now Holmberg. Plays it inside. Seike. Now to Kankovic. Intercepted well. And here's Caldente. Pokes it through the lines. Marnham trying to shift it to the left-hand side. That's a really poor pass, though, from Frida Marnham.
Yeah. Again, another quiet game. Quiet half for Frida Marnham. Come in today and not...
Yeah, to be honest, until then I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
I don't think she's touched the ball as much as perhaps you'd want her to in there.
Not really got involved.
Hines. Back now to Cadena. One back by Hayes. Hayes directly into Seike. And back to Simmons, who's going to look to lift it out now to Oleslagers. But Holmberg has a beat for pace and knocks it out of play for a Brighton throw. They've got to get more shots away, though, Brighton. I think Van Donselaar's made some great stops in recent weeks, but she's made mistakes this season. And I think if you can put her under enough pressure, she could crack. She was in... I mean, we saw earlier in the season some of those mistakes coming in. But yeah, fantastic form against Chelsea. Has already made a good save today. All over the top. Minami chased down here by Beth Mead, but she will get there and gives it to Anadozie. Anadozie here trying to be brave, and that's fantastic from Anadozie, who was fouled in the aftermath from Beth Mead. Brighton play out well, though. Here's Charlize Rule, happy to carry in this central area. I'm loving the inverted wing-backs from Brighton. Kirby lifting it over the top. There's space now for Haley to attack into. Hines going to get back in there, and Madison Haley's cross. Not threatening. Way too much on that. Just getting it all wrong.
Yeah, final ball has just been lacking for Brighton. They've done better. Last 5, there was a spell around the 30th minute where Arsenal had dominated the ball for 5-10 minutes in there. Brighton have done better just to get involved, but that final pass is just is lacking at the moment. They turn it over and give it away, just give it straight back, or with Haley there, that cross is massively overhit. But they're coming on stronger here towards the end of the half.
Yeah, that had to be better from Haley. Yeah. But yeah, they are. They've just dealt with Arsenal again. There was a moment where Arsenal swapped the wingers and were really starting to find some joy. But they've just started to be a bit more physical, as shown there on Slagers nudging back possession. Here's Frank Kirby. Tries to lift it in there, blocked by Holmberg. And then cleared by Wooden-Moy, but it's picked off. It's going to drop now for Kelly on the edge, who loses it. Venegas, Oleslagers lifts the ball in there. Seike can't quite get there. Headed clear by Cadena. And now Rule has a heart the pitch, turns backwards. Kankovic. What's that from? Simmons it was.
Got away with that one. Not really sure.
They're lacking threat in wide areas, Brighton.
Yeah.
Really are they? I mean, Haley just is getting into the right positions but isn't offering enough with possession. Minami trying to lift it over the top. It's going to bounce up and there is an offside flag, and Venegas and Wooden-Moy will have to end their physical contest.
Yeah, Ken Venegas is just popping up everywhere in this game. How she's tussling Wooden-Moy for a ball over the top, I do not know.
But no, we haven't seen inverted wing-backs enough.
No.
It's just in football in general for the last few years, especially in women's football. Simmons, flick on from Kirby, and it's going to be one by Wooden-Moy. Back now to Van Domselaar. It's great distribution of find. Black Saints with the headers, one by Minami, who looks to go directly into Haley, and Hines there. Smart play, just seeing it out, and Haley trying her best to keep it on, but can't quite manage it.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a really difficult game to judge because, as I probably said 10 minutes ago that Brighton were the ones who needed half time, but now they've really come into this game.
Another foul there from Beth Mead. Free kick in a good position now for Brighton.
Yeah, again, just bundling into Haley. It's good stuff from Haley. Good strength from Haley, who nudges Mead down as Mead's falling. She just takes Haley with her.
It just feels like another game for Arsenal where the midfield, outside of Callante and Little, they haven't really done much. everything is coming through them. They're breaking up the play. They are getting the ball forwards. And then the final third, they seem to be offering more threat than a lot of the attacking players. Kankovic, good ball in, and no one quite gets there. Not much wrong, though, with that ball from Helena Kankovic. Just no one could quite meet it.
Yeah, I mentioned this with an Arsenal free kick earlier in the game, but no one seemed to move when the ball goes in. Yeah, when this leaves Kankovic's foot, Brighton players should be running towards goal. But everyone just seems to stay stationary, and yeah, when a ball bounces at the far post, someone's got to be there to try and head it home.
Caldente, now Cadena. Back to Van Domselaar, who returns it to Lea Cadena. Mead. I think there's a swap back round again, and also under some pressure here as Seike forces Ruben Moy just to smash that one clear. Hayes back into midfield, and it's one back by Little. And now Caldente. Trying to find Kelly, but it's one back well. Simmons, Haley, needing support. Brings it inside. A minute of additional time at the end of this first half as well. Venegas opens up down the line well. Slagers back to Venegas. Lovely exchange. Now shifts it inside. Kirby in the penalty area. Carrying it wide and just didn't quite have the support she wanted there, Frank Kirby. And it comes off there. I think it comes off maybe the ref's given a free kick.
Yeah, again, Venegas just trying to keep the ball in play and just bundles through. Mead. This has been, it's both, I think both these two have just tried to go around today, seeing how many people they can be aggressive with and foul.
Yeah. Kwekurifi, apologies if I'm mispronouncing that, says, theoretically, what do you think about Brighton women's coach coaching Chelsea in the future? I love Dario Vidicic. I don't know if his football translates to the elite level, but the question would be whether he would adjust to managing a club like that. I don't think Chelsea are in the market for a manager, though. Certainly not this summer. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure Dario Vidicic would be in consideration if Chelsea ever were looking for a manager. Ball goes forward, headed out of play well by Venegas. And that is the end of the half here at Meadow Park. Brighton have held Arsenal so far. It's Arsenal 0, Brighton 0 in this game. Opportunities for both sides throughout the half. Brighton started stronger. Arsenal started to find their way back into the game. Holmberg coming closest. But it has to be said, it seemed Brighton ended the half strongest. And at the break, it remains all square. Arsenal 0, Brighton 0.
Yeah, I think a very fair scoreline on reflection. A mixed half. Both sides had their moments on top. Both sides had chances to find the back of the net. But goalless so far. And I think, yeah, that's probably the most just both sides could have scored. But a very even first 45 minutes in this quarter-final. And I think it's one of those where whoever ends up losing this game will look back on their chances in this first half and say, well, they should have found the back of the net. But yeah, very even half, very good watch. Both sides, not much to separate them at all at this point in the game, to be honest. And yeah, it's been a good watch.
I feel this game is perfectly exposing where Brighton's weakness lies, and that is without a strong number 9.
Yeah,
I think so much of this game is, imagine you move Seike into that Haley position where Haley's had loads of joy but doesn't quite have the end product or the productivity there, and Seike's having that physical contest which she's not really suited to. And Michelle Adjumang in this system, of course, it would never happen because if she was on loan for Arsenal, she wouldn't be able to play anyway. But someone of that ilk would just give them someone for them to play off, for them to put the ball into the box, aiming for, to be physical with Cadena. That's all they're missing at the moment. But Brighton have done so well. They've been, I think the way they've jumped up really aggressively has been really impressive. I think the way that we've seen the centre-backs are able to push forwards, knowing that players will cover for them. So on the left-hand side, Venegas is pushing forward from left centre-half, knowing Minami and Hayes will shuffle across. We're seeing Hayes stepping up, knowing Rule's going to drop in to replace her. And there just seems to be a really good understanding of and a discipline about how they're pushing up and how they're able to be aggressive by jumping onto Arsenal players. They've done really well to limit Arsenal in that regard and be super aggressive in terms of pressing up onto players and causing issues. But ultimately, the goal hasn't come. Brighton, though, started really fast, had that shot from Elena Kankovic after 2 minutes, and a fantastic save from Daphne Van Donslaer to deny her.
Yeah, Brighton got going really quickly, and again, yeah, that all came because of that Brighton press. Kim Little got caught on the ball, and between Kankovic and Simmons, they managed to take it off her, and again, they caught Arsenal high at the pitch, and it left that back four, and no one got close enough to Kankovic. Someone's got to close her down there, and to be fair to Kankovic, there's not much more she could have done. It looked destined to find that top right corner, and Van Donslaer did superbly to get up and tip it over the bar, and it's another fantastic save from the Arsenal goalkeeper, who's had a really good run in the last couple games. But yeah, a bit of a let off early doors there for Arsenal, because Brighton started really quickly. It's a great effort from Kankovic, and if that goes in, Brighton have got a lead to defend in a knockout game. That's a precarious position to be in if you're Arsenal. So yeah, a very fast start for Brighton. They weren't really rewarded for it.
No, and then obviously they had those corners as a result. A nice routine with Madison Haley, with the ball into Madison Haley at the front post, flicked back in the air, and 2 goal line clearances from Arsenal to deny. I believe it was Charlie's Rule in there and Madison Haley, of course. So did really well to deny them, but great opportunities for Brighton, who I think will feel a little hard done by it just didn't go in the back. It just felt like, how on earth has that not crept over the line? How has it not gone through those bodies?
Yeah, it's always a difficult one, because as a player, your main thought is there when you've got the bodies, when you've got players on the line, your main thought just hit the target. And you just come from a corner, the ball falls to you, just keep it down. And yeah, luckily for Arsenal, there were defenders in the right positions that could claw it off the line, but more good chances, and suddenly that's 5 minutes into the game, and Brighton had 3 big opportunities to find the back of the net. Any of those go in, it's a different game. So yeah, an early let off for Arsenal, and Brighton would have been frustrated that they couldn't find the back of the net in those opening stages.
But for Brighton, they haven't had a shot after the 5th minute. Where has it been going wrong for Brighton's attack from there?
Yeah, they struggled to get into the game. The build-up was strong, and the press was good in the early stages, but as Arsenal grow into the game, not only have Brighton struggled to play out themselves, but they've also struggled to pin Arsenal in. Arsenal played out much nicer, and Little and Calvin-Tay have managed to make things tick in there. And I think that again, it's about that intensity as well for Brighton. Is that the game goes on, what they do really well at the start of the games, and this is exactly how Kankovic got that shot, is that the front line are really aggressive, and the midfield, and then the next line goes with them. The midfield goes with them. So if they get through the front line, they're right behind them. But I think as the game goes on, and as players start to get a little bit tired, especially because Kankovic and Simmons have got a lot of ground to cover, the front line pushes on, but the midfield is just a little bit behind. And that's where you've got to try and manage the risk and the reward, because if the midfield are too tired to follow, then there's no point sending that front end on, because we've seen it a couple times now where Arsenal have got past that first line of Seike and Kirby, and then they've got a bit of space to use before they reach Kankovic and Simmons. So, and I'd expect it to be exactly the same in the second half. I'm sure in the first few minutes, Brighton, the midfield will be right there with them, and Arsenal will find it hard to play out. But then again, as the half goes on, Brighton will just get a little bit deeper, and Arsenal have more room to work with. But yeah, they just haven't turned it over as much as they wanted to, and Arsenal have looked much better with the ball, and in turn, Brighton have also struggled a little bit to get out themselves.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is final third play. I think there are 2 key areas for me which Brighton are struggling to get into, which is the Arsenal penalty area, only 7 touches in the opposition box compared to Arsenal's 13, almost double. And they haven't really broken into zone 14. When they did, Helena Kankovic got a good shot away. But they've not forced Arsenal into those positions. They've not created space in those areas. And I disagree on your point with the build-up. I think Brighton's build-up's been intact, but the pressing hasn't. They haven't been able to turn. The high turnovers haven't really come. They've played through the lines quite well. They've played into decent areas, but they keep getting the ball wide and not really possessing it in central areas where they can get shots away. So it's in a lot of the ball wide, so a lot of them making wide runs, but they're either the crosses are blocked or the cross comes in and doesn't fall to anyone, or like, for example, Madison Haley's cross, which flew right over the penalty area. And I feel that Brighton, Arsenal doing well to force Brighton into those positions, because they know that Brighton don't really have strength in crosses, and they don't really have anyone to aim for in the box. So if you're forcing Brighton into those positions to cross it in, you should have the ability to head the ball away in there and not have too much issues. So Yeah, I think that's been okay so far, but it's going to be interesting to see what they look to do from here. Can they start to break into those central areas and really hurt Arsenal?
Mm.
As for Arsenal, they started to find a little bit more joy. I think where Brighton struggle in wide areas, that's where Arsenal really thrive. And so while they haven't really been able to get Blackstone on the ball in behind, I think Minami's done a really good job of shutting her down. They have been able to get wide and they have been able to create from those positions.
Yeah, they've looked good in wide areas when they have got involved. I think that on this right-hand side, while you had Mead and Holmberg, it struggled early doors because I think Odeslager has done a brilliant job of tracking Holmberg, and that's what you get having Odeslagers in that left midfielder position. I think Mead has got embroiled a bit in the physicality of the game, but Kelly's enjoy whichever side Kelly's been on seems to be where they've had a bit more joy. And I think that she's just looked a bit sharper. Let's put Brighton under a bit more pressure because she is more of that touchline winger. Wants to get the ball in, wants to put that Brighton backline under pressure, force them to clear the ball. And I think that they've looked good. And then as the half went on, and as Odeslagers found it more and more difficult to track Holmberg managed to get into the game. And then suddenly you've got Kelly and Holmberg working quite nicely on this right hand side in that second half of the first 45 minutes. And Brighton were just struggling a little bit to deal with them, and they were creating some half chances. I mean, Holmberg had obviously the really obvious one, but they did well. It's just that final ball is lacking. When you haven't got Alessia Russo in there, and when Frida Marnham's not really getting in the game, you're thinking, who is going to get on the end of one of these crosses? If you've got a Russo in there, or you've got Marnham making that brilliant run into the 6-yard box, you're on the money. But they haven't managed to pick one of those out yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a little misleading because Arsenal so far 0.75 xG to Brighton 0.39, but actually outside of that Holmberg shot, I think we've seen Arsenal be quite unproductive again. I think we've seen this for Arsenal before, but when you don't have Alessia Russo dropping to create space for others or making those runs in behind that she can receive, so those selfless and selfish runs. When you don't have Olivia Smith driving that ball forwards, I just feel they really lack a bit of an X factor in there. I mean, Kelly's still got that because she's such a good deliverer of the football that she's still going to give you threat. And that's ultimately, great run from Holberg, great delivery from Kelly. And that was their most threatening chance. But I just feel outside of that, it's just a little bit too predictable. And I think Brighton know what to expect now from Arsenal, especially when, even if Black Tennis does get free, firstly, she's been offside both times so far that she's received the ball, but every other time, Enado's off her line there so quickly, Blackstone's isn't going to get there. So they have just struggled, I think, to stretch Brighton defensively, and they've been forced into areas where they're pushing Brighton into their penalty area and then having to do the job of breaking them down. And I think outside of that Kelly cross, and this is exactly what you get from Chloe Kelly, as someone who is great at breaking down low blocks because she's a fantastic crosser. But outside of that, it's too slow and predictable, really, to open up much space. I think Brighton have been really disciplined defensively, particularly in their own penalty area. And Arsenal are suffering as a result. They're not really finding the space. They're not really creating opportunities. They're not really getting the shots away. 2 shots on target so far, and that's the Holmberg shot. And Carl Dente had a tame effort, or to be fair, decent effort from range, which was forced a good save out of Anadozi. But outside of that, it feels a similar story to Arsenal to what we've seen a lot this season, which is against teams who are very defensively minded, they struggle to break them down. Who are good in defensive minded, I should say. When we think about the likes of the game against Tottenham away, we think about the games against Manchester United this season. Admittedly, Tottenham at home, Tottenham went for a completely different strategy, tried to play Arsenal their own game and got opened up. And I think that shows the real difference. But against well-drilled defensive opposition, Arsenal do really struggle to break them down. So, yeah, Brighton have nailed it so far. The big question now is going to come when... Can Brighton go out and find that goal? Can Brighton find a way to get back into this game and start creating opportunities because they haven't really had enough shots recently? And what happens when Arsenal inevitably at this rate look at Alessia Russo, look at Olivia Smith and try and change the game in that aspect? They're going to be the big questions in the second half, and I guess it just depends which one you view as more likely as to what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that the subs will be massive, but it also depends on where the game is at. If we spoke about it a bit during the first half because of the lack of intensity that will come from Brighton's bench. They've got some good players on there, but They haven't got players that I think will come on and match or better what we saw at the very start of that first half. So I think it's going to be really crucial as to where the game is at. If Brighton are ahead or they're level, then they just need players to come on and play well. But obviously, if Brighton are ahead, they'll look to hold on to their lead, and if they're level, especially if we're talking 20, 25 minutes from the end, they'll be looking at extra time, and they'll be thinking about that. And of course, the extra time being a factor in this game completely changes how managers view subs, because you want to try and hold on, you want to give yourself an advantage. So they're very difficult to balance. But I think that if Arsenal are ahead or they're level and they bring on the likes of Rousseau and Smith, that could just be enough to get them through. But it really depends which way Seagulls goes about it. Will she be bold and bring on the players early to try and get a goal before the end of the 90? Or will she hold off and have extra in her mind? I think as the bigger team, she's got to back players like Rousseau and Smith to get it done. If they get to 65-70 and it's still 0-0, they've got to go for the game. I don't think they can be conservative and worry of too much about after the 90.
They can't go to extra time. I think the other thing, though, that plays in mind is the difficulty of... I don't know what I'm trying to say there. I completely forgotten what I was going to say. The fixture pile-up, sorry, is the difficulty of trying to manage the fixture pile-up is you don't want to have to bring those players on at all.
Yeah.
So it's that, do you just sub them on at 60 minutes and get the game done, or do you actually not perhaps bring them on, hope the side can get the job done anyway, and then if you do need them, bring them on extra time? Yeah. That could be another way that Slayers perhaps looks at it. So it depends what they look to do in the second half. I think for Brighton, I'd be tempted to get Carla Camacho on there. I think she could be. I know she's not the most productive, but I think she'd be a real handful. Get Seke back on the right wing, and look to cause an issue that way. Because I just don't think they've targeted Kadina in behind enough yet. And if it is going to be that physical battle, well, me and Dario Vidicic seemingly think alike there, because Carla Camacho is coming onto the field. I think they've got to target that. She can be an absolute handful for defenders. That's going to look like it's scripted. I do not have Dario Vidicic's number. I did not know who's going to do that, but I think you need someone who's going to come on and just give them something to aim for in the box. Give them someone who's going to make those runs and create space for teammates, and someone for Kirby to play off a little bit more than perhaps Seke.
But what I also like that is proactive from Vidicic. We see so many times in these games where the bigger side make changes first and the underdogs are reactive, and by that point they're already 1-0 down before their subs can come on. It's proactive from Vidicic. He's making the changes. He's bringing on game changers before Arsenal introduce any of their changes, and that could just make a bit of a difference by being one step ahead of Arsenal and Slayers and it's going to be happening. If if Rousseau and Smith are close to coming on, Vidicic's got to be quick and make his changes before those players can come on and impact the game.
Yeah, so they've got about it slightly different ways. They have just taken Seke off. So it is Seke off. They're keeping they are keeping Madison Haley on there. Arsenal get us back underway in this second half at Meadow Park. Brighton with one change at the break. Carla Camacho coming on. Can that change the game into their favour? It's been a well-contested first 45. What will play out in the second half? And it's Arsenal coming forwards here. Little trying to slip it through the lines. Minami, though, is going to get there. Blackstenius, muscles are off. Blackstenius puts it round the keeper. But there is a foul there, and I have to say I think that's a fair decision. Minami was a little bit too weak, but I think Blackstenius does just pull her back here.
Yeah. Tell you what, I think Minami, it's soft, but I think it's enough, especially because it leads to a goal. But I think Minami is very lucky there. Is as you say, way too weak. And Blackstenius, there's a slight pull, but I think she's got to. I think it's one of those where it's soft. It probably is a foul, and Minami's probably a bit lucky.
But it does feel like consistency because Kankovic very much, I also don't mind. If the referee is going to ref the game that way, that's fine. Just no hands on anyone. If not, that's going to be a foul. Then I think that's fine. So yeah, as long as there's consistency, we don't mind. But it feels soft. Great finish though from Sina Blackstenius, which had already gone, but
that was brilliant. Outside the boot,
Travella around the goalkeeper.
Yeah, she couldn't do that again if she tried.
Holmberg. Venegas notching out up the line. Camacho battling away. Kadina clears, and now one high up the pitch again. Boris Lager and Kadina lashing it out of play.
Yeah, Camacho's got to bring energy, got to bring that
immediately. Yeah,
that impact. can't afford to, they don't want to. It will feel like a weighted sub if they don't use that impact from the bench.
Venegas down the line, looking for Camacho, who's battling away here with Holmberg. Holmberg winning it back and then knocking it up the line. So it's flicking round the corner, and it's recovered well by Brighton. The forward ball doesn't quite come off. Venegas battling away, though. And Little able to twist her way out of it. Cadena lifting it out of play. She struggled in possession there, Cadena, in this game, which is a bit of an odd one, because I think that tends to be where she thrives. What you expect from Barcelona defenders, that they're really good on the ball, but perhaps have some defensive lapses. Kirby and Haley exchanging. Well, what a shot from Madison Haley! That is a fantastic goal from Brighton. A lovely combination between Kirby and Haley. And from a difficult angle there, that is magnificent from Madison Haley. Firing across goal. And I think it's got to be stronger in there from Leah Cadena, but brilliant from Haley. And Brighton lead early in this second half.
Yeah, brilliant start to the half from Brighton, and it's a lovely 1-2 between Kirby and Haley. And from this angle, Haley has no right to find the top corner from there. That is incredible technique. Under the challenger, Cadena does so well to find the top corner. That is brilliant from Haley. Lovely ball through from Kirby, who picks up another contribution against Arsenal. And yeah, Cadena's got to do more there, I think, to stop Haley. Can't allow Haley to get a shot away from there.
It's the first time they've really effectively pulled apart the left-hand side of Arsenal's defence. Haley bringing down the ball, draws in Hines, shifts it to Kirby, and then runs around Hines. That takes the left-back out of the equation. And then Cadena's got to be more assertive. But yeah, ridiculous angle for Haley to find that finish. Don't think there's much more Van Domselaar could do. It always feels that given the angle, she should just make herself big and stop it. But yeah, not much she could do about that one. Fantastic from Madison Haley, and Brighton take the lead in this game. Now Arsenal coming forwards. Mead picked off well there as Rule steps up. Now Camacho, who wants to get involved. Haley trying to carry it forward. Hines, though, making up with the challenge. And brilliant in there from Maisie Simmons. Camacho. Ola Kankovic. Now to Venegas. And a pass inside to Simmons. Shifts it onto Hayes. Hayes looks wide now for Rawl, who can carry up the line. And now looking to lift it in behind Camacho. She timed that well. Apparently not. Gone too early there, Carla Camacho.
Yeah, just looked to go a little bit early.
Arsenal playing on.
Yeah.
Van Domselaar. Well, look, I'm not sure if it was flagged offside or whether they just ignored it and let Arsenal.
Yeah, I think they played on.
Caldente. Now Hines. Mead. Caldente knocking it down the line. Minami's going to get across there and knocking it back to Enadozi, who's under pressure, tries to play out, and it comes off. Frida Marnham, who probably just needs to realise the situation there. That wasn't a great clearance. And that will be a Brighton throw.
Yeah, perfect start to the second half over Brighton. And not where Arsenal needed at all. Because they can't afford to panic. But, I mean, if you're Dario Vilicic, this is the perfect situation to be in. You know, they've got something to defend now. Arsenal did well in the first half. As to when Brighton had chances, they just rode out the storm and didn't concede. Because if you give the underdogs something to defend in a knockout game, you put yourselves in a bit of trouble. Now Brighton have got that. And this is a big test of Arsenal's strength and mentality. They've got to they want to equalise pretty soon.
Holmberg, Kelly tries to knock it forwards, one back by Rawl. And now Haley. Kankovic clips it forwards. Kirby nodding on, looking for Camacho. And Cadena steers it clear. And out for a Brighton throw-in.
Yeah, I think the Camacho change has been brilliant. Exactly what Brighton needed.
Indeed, Hines heading away well. Flicks around the corner from Marnham. And now Ruben Moy stepping up and knocking it in behind. I think Martinez may have gone too early again. She has indeed.
Yeah, just...
And this can be the issue of Black Saints against a high line that is well executed, is that they are just stepping up really well. Yeah. And there's not that the Black Saints is just getting flagged every time.
Yeah.
I think that's 3 or 4 offside calls now against Senior Black Saints.
Yeah, it's a thing. There's certain games where she's absolutely brilliant. The time they run is perfect, and there's just others where she just can't seem to get it right ever.
Hines heads into midfield. Now Kirby, lovely turn. Now to Camacho, who's going to find space with a shot. Saved well by Van Domselaar. Back to Camacho now, who's trying to recreate an opportunity. Good ball in, cleared away by Hines. Still in the penalty area though, and eventually it's hoofed clear. But Brighton, the side in the clear ascendancy at the moment. Camacho really adding something to this attack.
Yeah, brilliant start to the second half, and they're just continuing to keep Arsenal under pressure.
Venegas lifts it in there. Haley at the back post. Punched away well. Assertive goalkeeping from Van Domselaar. And Kelly now looks to break forwards. Comes inside, and Kirby turning it over. And now Hayes just about stabbing it forwards. Oh, lovely football as Simmons to Kirby looking down the line. And that's going to trickle its way through to Van Domselaar.
Well, Arsenal can thank their goalkeeper there. 2 brilliant pieces of goalkeeping. The first one, really good save with the feet to Nike Camacho, and then to beat Haley to the ball and punch it clear was vital. Again, really good from Van Domselaar, but Brighton pushing for a second, really.
Little to Marnham. Losing out in there, and here come Brighton again. Haley, this is the problem now, and it's a ball forwards for Camacho. Here come Brighton. Needing support. Lifting it in there, and Hines heading it away as Kirby was offering threat at the back post. This is the problem now. Arsenal are pushing forwards, and that leans into Brighton's style of play because it's becoming very transitional. They have got numbers forwards here, though. Marnham delays. Now wide to Mead. Venegas stands her up and wins it back without much issue. Anonymous 99923 says, how could they beat Chelsea but lose to Brighton? 2 major components. Arsenal coming forwards now, though. Well timed, a shot across goal, and it bobbles across and out for a goal kick. 2 major components, really, for Arsenal. One, this is a second string side for a large part of it. I think, particularly in attack, they're really missing Smith and Russo. And also in defence, they haven't got their natural fullbacks, which doesn't help. But the bigger component for me is that we've seen this is a trend for Arsenal. Arsenal are very good against sides who want to have more of the ball. But Brighton are a side who want to lean into transitions. And so they're giving Arsenal the ball, and Arsenal are then creating their own issues. And we've seen this before for Arsenal, where they struggle more against teams who are defensive, and they play better against teams who are aggressive. It's why they're on the Champions League. They're a great defensive team. But I think they struggle a little bit when they've got to be the side they've got to be the team that takes the initiative. Foul there from Chloe Kelly. Arsenal readying substitutes as well. That was Caitlin Ford and Alessia Russo. So one player there that can help them try and find a goal. We'll see.
Yeah, cool.
How quickly those substitutes are made.
Yeah. It's not the situation that Arsenal wanted at all. As we were saying, the ideal would be that the likes of Russo, Ford, Smith aren't needed in this game, but conceding that goal, yeah, they're going to have to bring them on now and try and change it up quickly.
Haley trying to go around the corner. Hines winning it back. It will be a Brighton throw-in, which I think is a little unfortunate there for Arsenal. And, well, Hines making her frustration known, not letting Raw have that back, but very easily. Kirby heading on. Haley contesting well, and she'll get around Taylor. Hines lifting it into the box. Now Camacho offering a real challenge, but Van Domselaar does well to claim it.
Yeah, again, good from Van Domselaar. So it's a bit of a weird ball in actually from Haley that I think can cause problems. And Camacho did well to get under it, but
it just floated for so long that it was always going to be one that Van Domselaar had to pluck out of the air. Can cause an issue sometimes, especially if it's a particularly sunny day. The goalkeepers.
Beth Mead's down again.
Well, this will likely, I think they'll substitute her here. For Ford.
There's been a lot of pain, but she gets caught there. I mean, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, I think yeah. Hopefully this is nothing serious for Beth Mead, because she does seem to be in quite a lot of discomfort here, but it didn't seem like loads of contact, did it? And that's what would be more worrying.
Yeah. But maybe potentially it wasn't actually the contact that's caused the main injury. Because it was kind of just, she just got caught on the shin by Venegas.
Triple change then for Arsenal. Ford and Smith in the wide areas and Russo coming on as well. You'd think this would be pretty like for like, really. Mead. Well, we'll see, actually, because Taylor Hines is coming. I think she's just coming for a drink. I think this will be for for Marnham, Mead, and Chloe Kelly, you would assume.
Yeah.
So there's going to be Russo into the 10.
I think Cameron gave everyone a fright there. Thought Ford was going left back, so they're going really aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are the changes that we always thought were going to happen if it was ever a close game.
Kelly making way. I mean, you expect Brighton, and this is where I think the problem comes now with Kelly starting, is you expect Brighton to probably sit deeper now. This is when you want to be subbing Kelly on.
Yeah. When
Brighton are going to sit deep and you need someone across the ball in. I mean, she was such a great super sub at the Euros for that reason, but this is the moment where you want to be bringing Chloe Kelly on, not bringing her off.
Yeah.
So Beth Mead will make way here. Doesn't require the stretcher. Is free to walk, and does seem to be okay.
Yeah, the stretcher felt quite premature, but you'd rather have it there.
I mean, to be fair, a player goes down with their shirt over their face, clutching their ankle. It looked pretty serious.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be okay. Throwing then for Brighton. Down the line, Kirby, nice movement. Can she find someone in the box? Back to Venegas. Ball in there, looking for Haley, who nods it down. Camacho couldn't quite touch it there. Towards goal, and it bounces across. And out for a goal kick.
I think Haley's got to do better with that. She does really well to get around Hines. And I think Haley has got to look to head goalwards there and probably should do better. But again, it's another chance that goes by for Brighton.
And here come Arsenal. Hines. Cut out well by Caitlin Hayes. Hines now puts it back into the area. Cleared away well. Calls for handball in there. Waved away by the referee. The ball bouncing through now into the hands, or the feet really, of Chiamaka Inadozi. Big goal, by the way, in the WSL 2. Newcastle United 0, Nottingham Forest 1. That could put Crystal Palace 6 points clear of Newcastle with 2 games to go, all but confirming their place in the playoffs. Or the playoff, I should say.
Yeah.
Venegas carries up the line. Blocked away well. Venegas. Now Kankovic. Tries to knock it forwards. Kadina cuts it out. Ford. Back to Little. Holmberg carrying down the right-hand side. Can she create now space for the cross? Olislagas tracking her all the way. Blocks the cross. And it's out for an Arsenal corner. That's a goal kick, I think.
Yeah, good decision. Just came back off Holmberg.
Not too many complaints there at all from Smila Holmberg.
No. I think Olislagas, so Holmberg crosses it in. And just ricochets. Blocked by Olislagas, ricochets back onto the knee of Holmberg.
Brilliant defending there. She tracked the run all the way there, Marissa Olislagas.
Whole game.
Up well.
I think it's credit to Olislagas, but it's also credit to Vidicic. So it'll be, I mean, there aren't too many options to put on that left wing, but it's the main reason he's done that today, is that you've got Olislagas who can get forwards, but mainly can track the run of Holmberg in when they're defending.
Well, they've been able to switch between a 4 and a 5. It's been so, and at times it's been like a 3 or a 2. It's so so dynamic, really. At times we've seen the midfielders drop into the back line and players. It's really fluid. There's a great understanding between the players, and I mean, Daria Visic, a fantastic coach. I think if Brighton had a striker this season, they would absolutely be 5th.
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit. What's the word? It's not elusive, but the table lies, and I think Brighton are a much better side than the table suggests. They're joint on points with London City. I think they are a considerably better side.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason they are 28 minutes away from an FA Cup semi-final.
Yeah.
What they're doing well at the moment is that they're just keeping Arsenal at bay. And what that's doing is it's not allowing the subs to get in the game.
We're trying to lift into the box, blocked away well, and out now for a Brighton corner.
Like there hasn't been that reaction. I mean, when did the subs come on? I mean, it's been
5 minutes now.
5 minutes ago, and you wouldn't expect Brighton to still be on top, but they are, and they're doing well.
Frank Kirby, when we saw the threat Brighton posed from corners earlier, can they do it again? Kirby over this then. Frank Kirby. It's a great ball towards the back post. A header on target. It's there. Caitlin Hayes heads home. A well-crafted corner routine at Meadow Park. Stand in stunned silence. Meanwhile, it's the blue and white scarves of Brighton, which are swung over their heads. Brighton double their advantage. Van Dontelar's furious about something. I'm not even sure what. Brilliant corner routine. She should be on her own defenders there.
Oh dear.
No one picks up Hayes at the back post. Just drifts off Alessia Russo, is it? No, it's I'm trying to work out who that is in there.
It's
Blackstenius. Lets her get free. It's a brilliant header from Hayes, and Brighton double their advantage.
Wow, Arsenal and defending corners strikes them again. Set pieces defensively this season has been their kryptonite. And it's Hayes, who, even though she wriggles free from Blackstenius, shouldn't be allowed to just drift by herself to the back post. Take nothing away, it's a brilliant header, but when you're unchallenged, you expect to hit the target. And, well, Arsenal have got a lot of work to do.
But she puts it right out of reach.
Yeah.
Blackstenius offside again there. She puts it right out of reach of Van Dontelar, that even if she comes across, she just can't get up there to the top corner.
Yeah.
Blackstenius is so far offside here.
I mean, she's saying that she's on, but she's not. She's a good couple yards offside.
Yeah.
Really good.
All it takes is one, though, where the assistant referee gets it wrong and Blackstenius is on, but she's been offside now 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And he's at the fourth official there, calming down the Arsenal bench.
She was cracking jokes.
Well, comedy is the enemy of fury.
Yeah.
Ola Slagers sending it forwards. Hines clears, and now Arsenal look to play. Caitlin Hayes, though, steps in aggressively. She's been brilliant today. Yeah. Not just the goal, but, I mean, everyone for Brighton's done a fantastic job. They've been the better side. And I think that's a really worrying fact for Arsenal. 6 shots, 2 on target, to 8 shots, 6 on target. They've really put Van Dontelar under pressure. In the second half, they've found the goals they deserve. Ball in from Holmberg. Ooh. Not dealt with at the back post there by Rule. Here's Caitlin Ford, who gets a shot on goal, blocked by Hayes. Ford heads it back across. Russo now. Her shot's charged down. Haley tries to clear. It's brought down by Russo. Free kick for Brighton. Really smart from Haley. Another player had an excellent game.
Yeah, referee took their time, but got to the right decision in the end. But yeah, Arsenal just there's still plenty of time. Has to be said, 25 minutes is plenty of time in football to score 2 goals. But as they haven't looked like, they've only put 2 shots on target in the whole game, and they've got to do at least that if they want to score 2 goals in this game. I mean, it's very rare that you make a triple change to turn the game around and you concede again.
But I think it shows a real difference in the management styles. I think that's maybe given as it should be a corner. Absolutely is. That's really poor from Lotte Wouvermoy, I think it was, who just nodded that on there for no reason. And Arsenal are feeling it now. You can see the frustration is kicking into the players. I mean, but it's a difference in the management styles. We saw proactivity from Vidicic bringing on Camacho at half-time. It changed the game for Brighton. And we didn't see an Arsenal change until they'd conceded.
Yeah.
Way too reactive in this game, Renee Slagers, and now Brighton pushing for a third.
Yeah, there has been no... You would think that bringing on Russo, Ford and Smith, you'd see a reaction from Arsenal.
Yeah.
I'd expect Brighton to be under all kinds of pressure at the moment.
They look like a side who don't mind losing this game. Ball into the area. It is headed away. Headed back towards goal by Rule. Minami nods on. It bounces around the box. And it is steered clear. Not far away, though, by Caitlin Ford. Camacho Minami. Kankovic, here's Ford, who's trying just to shield it there. Camacho fighting away well, though. Can she get a shot away? She does, across goal! And Kirby can't quite get there. Almost a third there. And Kirby assisting both of the goals so far for Brighton. Almost getting one of her own.
Yeah, should be 3-0. It's a brilliant ball across the box from Camacho, and Kirby can't quite get there. But what is Caitlin Ford doing? Trying to shield the ball in her own penalty area and just gets swarmed and gives it away. Really not sure what she was thinking there. Gets away with one. Because if that goes in, it's game over.
Hines. Now to Ford. Here is Cadena. Hines. Caldente goes down the line. Black Saints has timed this one better. Now looking to break into the area. Cuts it across and over the top of the goal.
Yeah, again.
Has to be a better delivery, really.
Yeah, times to run well. But yeah, the final ball just lacking. But better from Blacksenius. Just it's a difficult one at the moment because there is plenty of time. Plenty of time for us to find 2 goals, but they've got to kick into gear now. That wake up, that reaction's got to come now. Because it can't happen in 5 minutes, because in 5-10 minutes time they won't, you're gonna run out of time. But as I said a moment ago, they just haven't looked like scoring.
Yeah.
I mean, in the second half, they're not in a sniff.
Here's Kirby. Carrying it forwards well. Wide now with Haley. And back to Rule. Kankovic. Lifting it over the top. And Cadena does well to cut it out. Ford darts inside. Caldente, it's picked up again there by Haley. Camacho finds Kirby in the wide space. What can Brighton do? Simmons puts the ball in there, cleared away. Kirby trying to find Simmons again, who's battling away well and just goes a little too aggressively on Caldente. It's a bit messy between the two of them there.
Yeah. Not
Cadena, sorry.
It's not a bad foul. If she gets to the ball, fantastic. She didn't get to the ball, though, and just, stopped Arsenal playing out.
Caldente. Today really showing, though, what a miss Frank Kirby's been for this Brighton team.
Yeah. But just been brilliant. Just everything's ticking over. I thought she was great in the Leicester game last weekend, and in this game, again, because she's one of those players that can just drag the quality of this Brighton side up to match and better sides like Arsenal.
Yeah.
I have to say, by the way, I don't think Olivia Smith has touched the ball since she's come on.
No, she's been on the right wing, but everything seems to have come down the left-hand side, and they haven't been able to get a cut back yet. Caldente, ball into the box, headed away without issue. And back forwards by Holmberg, but smashed away by Helena Kankovic.
And that's the position Brighton are in now, though, because they've got a 2-goal lead. They don't need to play. They can just smash the ball out of play.
Yeah. Gabby says, will there be a new draw for the semi-finals, or are they already set? There is a draw. I believe it follows the Man City Birmingham game on Monday.
Yeah.
So make sure to join us there. We'll be live for all of the action on Monday. Chelsea-Tottenham at 1:30, followed by Manchester City versus Birmingham City, the league leaders of the WSL against the league leaders of the WSL 2. Should be a great contest. And following the conclusion of that game, we'll find out who will be the semi-finalist stands. Brighton will be our first side confirmed into the Women's FA Cup semi-finals this season. Camacho coming forwards now for the Seagulls. Ball lifted through, looking for Kirby. Just a little bit too much on that. And it's out for a goal kick.
Yeah. This would be big for Brighton, because this would feel like what they've been building towards the last couple of years. A big cup run. So they were brilliant last season, finished 5th in the league, but this would be a big scalp. Oh,
one up the pitch here by Kirby, who takes aim, trying to react to a mistake they're playing out from the back. Couldn't quite find the target.
Yeah, worth a go. Smith, this is just a really poor pass, a horizontal across our own back line. Gifts it to Kirby, who sees Van Donster off a line, tries to lob her, just overhits it.
You'd have backed Frank Kirby there, wouldn't you? To find that ball over the top, looking for Blackstenius. Thought she might have gone too early. And indeed, once again, she had.
Yeah.
Busy day there for the assistant referee.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered if she were onside, because for some reason, Dozy was still on the edge of her own D. But, yeah. And again, now Brighton are just this is game management 101. Walk up with the ball, don't put it down in the wrong place, have to move, just taking pace out of the game.
18 minutes to go. They're 18 minutes away from a historic FA Cup semi-final. And Dozy launches it forwards, it's headed away. Kelly nods it on, nodded down by Blackstenius. And Hayes wins it in the crunch. Now Kirby picks up possession and just clips it down the line. Kadina trying to shield it out of play and ends up, I think she's got lucky there to get the throw, but it will be an Arsenal throw-in. Hines. Now Kadina in her own corner. Picked off well by Simmons. Haley. And now Rule coming inside with the pass. Minami knocking it wide to Venegas. Venegas is going to look to be direct with it. Headed away well by Ruben Moy. Now Little under pressure. Knocks it inside. And here's Alessia Russo. Russo tries to shift it. Olis Slagers can't quite win it. Smith now in behind. Well timed by Blackstenius, but Dozy comes and collects. And now she's just going to play out from this position. So composed from Chiamaka Dozy.
I mean, she's playing left back there.
Yeah.
Just incredible goalkeeping. It's a unique style, but it works perfectly.
Ruben Moy. Blackstenius losing out there to Minami.
Really struggled today, seeing Blackstenius.
Yeah, I don't think she's had much of a positive impact on this game for Arsenal. There hasn't been the ability. I think she's been marked very well by Minami, but she hasn't been able to get in behind and, again, targeting that kind of that transitional threat, that space in behind when you've got a goalkeeper like Enadozi who is off her line as quick as a flash. It's always going to be difficult. And while Arsenal now trying to pull up the opposition and see what they can get. McCabe being readied. Here's Ford carrying it inside. Caldente back to Ford. Takes aim and it's blocked. Tries to go back to Hines. It's picked off by Rule. He squeezed it forwards and Kirby smashing it out of Meadow Park.
Yeah. I mean, McCabe will be a bit more positive, but the problem is that they're in a difficult position now, Arsenal. They made their triple attacking change and it hasn't had an impact. So now I think Slagers and Arsenal are a bit stuck at what to do because they've had their biggest roll of the dice. What more can they do?
Yeah, you imagine you put on McCabe and just tell her to get forwards as much as possible, put balls in the box, potentially get Pullover on there then for one of the centre-halves and just go for the game.
And they've got to put Brighton under more pressure.
It's Russo trying to carry inside, just take aim. Can't find the target there though, Alessia Russo. Just trying to make it happen on her own because there's not much support.
Yeah, don't mind that at all. But if you're Brighton, well, you're going to welcome shots from 20, 25 yards out.
And it's Blackstenius off for McCabe. So McCabe's going to go into an attacking position here. It's Caldente into the 10, Russo to lead the line. McCabe's coming into midfield. So this is going to be interesting.
Didn't think I'd ever see Katie McCabe playing as a pivot player.
I think she's done it already for us on this season. For like the last 20 minutes of games. I mean, it makes sense with their role. Full-back and midfield are practically the same thing.
Yeah.
Here's Ford. McCabe losing out in there, manages to win the free kick. A little bit soft.
Yeah, but that bite, that combativeness will help to just try and win them more chances. Yeah, very aggressive now for Brighton. For Arsenal, sorry. Look at Holmberg's the furthest forward player on that right-hand side.
Russo battling away with Hayes. Hayes trying to stand her up. Brilliant defending from Caitlin Hayes. And that looked to have gone for Alessia Russo there, but it has been given as an Arsenal throw. Kadina. Now Kim Little. Can she get a shot away? Smith. Caldente trying to wriggle some space. But, I mean, this is the problem, isn't it? It's that you can change the personnel, but ultimately, the problem that's occurred here is that, well, the issue they need to solve is tactical.
Yeah.
They can't find a way to break the Brighton defence down. And, yeah, personnel can change things because you bring different profiles in different positions and they can make things happen. But, yeah, I just think it's just not working at the moment, and I don't think the personnel's done enough to change it.
No.
Brett asked you guys doing a round up the quarterfinals of the Champions League. I know we were thinking about doing a video, but it was difficult because of the Thursday timing and the usual Friday upload. It's difficult to do. Good work from Venegas. Smith pushing her down, and a free kick for Brighton. And Smith here making her frustrations known to the assistant referee. Has no interest in hearing them.
Yeah, I think that Olivia Smith has come on, not got in the game, and then because of that, she's just getting frustrated. I mean, that one is a little bit unfortunate. I'll give her that.
From Venegas.
Yeah. She's unlucky with that one, but she's already given away a couple and just hasn't, she should be coming on, picking up the ball and running at players and making things happen. And she just hasn't done that. Same, forward again, hasn't done that. Russo's come on and tried to make things happen, but it just feels like she's doing it all herself there.
Brighton here looking then for a bit of energy, revitalising the side, and Pomey and Nordam will come on. And a yellow card here given to Manuela Venegas for delaying the restart, just taking her time to take this free kick.
Yeah, I think Vidicic will happily pay that for her.
I think Tony Bloom will happily pay that for her. Here's McKay picking the ball up in midfield. Great work there from Kankovic to force her backwards.
You'd expect Venegas to be the one that comes off then from Mpome. Now she's on a yellow.
Yeah. I'm really gutted that my prediction isn't going to come true here. I said 2-1. 2-1 Brighton.
Yeah.
Just, Brighton have been better than I thought they were going to be.
My 2-0 Arsenal's off the cards.
Your 2-0 Arsenal's off the cards for a while.
Yeah.
Hines battling away, trying to keep it in play. Great work again there from Charlie's Rule. Sees it out for a goal kick.
Yeah. I think Vidicic has got this absolutely nailed on today.
Yeah.
The selection of that back four, the selection of Olis Lagers being at left wing so that she can track Holmberg better, the choice to bring on Camacho at half time, every step of the way, Dario Vidicic has nailed it today.
Absolutely. And Brighton now looking just to shut this game down. Mpome and Nadine Nordam. So that'll be Mpome on to replace Frank Kirby. So this is going to be some sort of shape change there, unless Melis Mpome has suddenly developed the ability to play attack midfield.
I can only assume that...
What performance though from Frank Kirby? It'll be Nordam in that position, yeah.
Yeah.
Olis Lager's making way as well. I think they've known about the yellow card when they're preparing their subs. They probably would have taken off Venegas, but then Nordam will go into Kirby's position. And Pomey might just be playing left wing. Yeah. Obviously, it has been more of a left wing back position. It is indeed going to be that left wing back position then for Melis and Pomey. Haley trying to go up the line, and Hines blocking it out of play.
There's just not been enough from Arsenal. I mean, how many shots on target have they had in the second half?
In the second half, 0.
That is not... You're chasing the game, you're 2 down, and they haven't hit the target once.
5 shots, 0 on target, 8 touches the opposition box, 0 big chance created. Brighton 5 shots, so level on shots, but 3 on target to none, 11 touches the opposition box. Still no big chances, which I fail to believe. But
I'd say the Hayes one was a pretty big chance.
I'd say the Kirby one that was missed.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest chance.
Yeah. But I mean, unmarked at the back post from a corner is
pretty decent chance, yeah.
Haley one, obviously, of course not.
Again, it's a bit of a subjective statistic, big chances. Ball forwards. One back well by Hayes. Try and knock it up the line, and Haley's going to get there, contesting with Hines. Little. But this is a tactical masterclass. Absolute tactical masterclass from Dario Vidicic. Yeah. And yeah, nailed this up today. Here's Smith. Now Caldente. And left away by Kankovic. It's not been Arsenal's weekend in the FA Cup. And their trips down south have not paid dividends. Well, this hasn't even been a trip, has it? That's what makes it arguably worse.
Although, because this is at Meadow Park, if it just does stay 2-0, this still won't ruin Rene Slager's 100% win rate at the Emirates.
And I think that does make a difference.
Yeah. Oh, massively.
You know, I look at this game and there's been a lot of moments, particularly in the first half, where Arsenal have tried to carry wide and end up running off the pitch.
Yeah.
You know, we speak a lot about how big of an advantage the Emirates is for Arsenal, but I don't think we speak enough about how big of a disadvantage it is for some of the other top clubs.
Yeah.
We know Chelsea now are exploring option of playing permanently at Stamford Bridge. I think that would be massively helpful for them next season.
Yeah. I mean, why is this at Meadow Park? The men were away.
I think it's because it's the FA Cup. They'll have to play a certain number of games.
Oh, yeah.
I think it would be something like they have to confirm. I believe they have an agreement right with Boreham Wood. They play a certain number of games at Meadow Park, and they say, "Oh, you know, we play all our cup games and a Champions League game."
I think, yeah. You look at they knocked out the League Cup. That was played at Meadow Park. As it stands out, the FA Cup that was played at Meadow Park.
They lost in the Champions League to Lyonnais in the league phase.
Yeah,
came at Meadow Park. So yeah, I don't think that's any coincidence.
No,
the pitch is too small to play Arsenal style of play, and the Emirates is a huge advantage for them. GC says Arsenal will not win any trophies this season. Well, exiting here would leave just the Champions League, much similar to last year though. If they just put all their eggs in the Champions League basket, could that be enough to get them over the line in that competition? Ball forwards. Dealt with well here by Arsenal. Hines goes up the line. Here's Ford. Back to Hines. Emily Fox on as well then. Fox over Palova. I guess she gives you something different at right back, but I don't feel like these changes are purposeful.
No.
It feels like getting your best players on there for the sake of getting your best players on there.
They're changes for the sake of it because, you know...
Ball in behind and Camacho here giving something for Van Onselaar to deal with.
Having Emily Fox or Smila Holmberg isn't going to change anything whatsoever as to whether they're going to turn this game around or not. Maybe it will because Fox is now coming down the right-hand side.
Fox, can she create an opportunity here? Blocked well though by Mpome. Corner to follow for Arsenal.
They need to score now if they want to do this, but yeah, still 84 minutes and they still haven't had a shot on target in this second half. Nowhere near good enough. I mean, of course, it has to be that they've come up against a brilliant Brighton side.
Yeah.
And as we said, you know, we were saying...
Credit to Vidicic as much as it's a poor result for Arsenal.
Yeah, Vidicic absolutely nailed it. But Arsenal just not turned up at all.
Ball in towards the front post. Cleared away well. Here's Caldente. Headed on. And now Olivia Smith. Bouncing through the lines. Kim Little. That's blocked. And Smith blocked again. Kadina takes aim. And that's parried away as well. And that will up Arsenal's shot count. But some great blocks and a good save at the end there from Anadozi. Hines. Here's Smith. Ball floated in and Anadozi claiming it well and she'll go to ground.
Yeah, better from Arsenal. Just keeping that pressure on. Couple of block shots. And Kadina having the first shot on target for the Gunners in the second half. Well saved by Anadozi. Yeah, Brighton just getting bodies in the way of everything. And that's a great save from the Brighton goalkeeper, who's had a brilliant afternoon. Has, you know, not had too much come her way in terms of shots, but when she has pulled off some good saves to keep them out, especially in the first half to deny Holmberg.
Fox trying to find Smith. That's brilliant work from Manuela Venegas, who's had a top performance.
Mm.
I mean, there's not many in a Brighton shirt who haven't, it has to be said. They've all worked hard here. It's been a real team effort, but there have been players that stood out. I think Vanegas has been brilliant. I think Hayes has been brilliant. Minami, all the centre-halves. But Kankovic has ran the show in midfield. Haley, excellent in front of goal. And her work rate today was top-notch. Kirby, I mean, we've run out of superlatives by this point in her career to describe Fran Kirby, but just got everything right. Brilliant creator. And, I mean, she loves playing against Arsenal, doesn't she? Fran Kirby, 2 assists today. Both the goals set up by Super Fran. Also coming down the left-hand side. It's a poor pass, though. Hines won't get there. It's a Brighton throw-in. There doesn't seem anything about this Arsenal performance now where there's any sort of belief left.
No.
It feels like a side who are playing against a stronger opposition, recognising that the game's done.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine there's going to be 2 minutes additional time, even though Haley is down now. You know, there's going to be nothing absurd. You know, maximum probably 5-6. So, you know, they're looking at less than 10 minutes at the very most to get 2 goals. And yeah, when you've had 1 shot on target in the whole of the second half, you don't really sit there and go, "Wow, we can do this."
Yeah. Jeff says that a huge match in the midweek must be knackered. I mean, to be fair, of the players who started the Chelsea game, I think only 4 or 5 started today.
Yeah, it's the indirect consequence because they rotate.
They've had that build up.
It's exactly what I said. I said it on a match week review a couple of weeks ago that Arsenal will have silly results in there because there is no way with the fixtures they've got left. There's no way they won't drop points. There's no way they will win every game. And I said that, and it's exactly what I'm talking about. With the fixture congestion, with the prioritisation of other competitions, results were going to fall away at the wayside. And of course, this is disappointing for Arsenal. They want to win the FA Cup, but I think it really depends what they're going to do now. If they finish second in the league and go and win the Champions League, then no one will really look back on this and worry about it. But if they now don't go and win the Champions League and they come away trophyless, this will seem like a big opportunity missed. So I think this is always expected. There were no way that Arsenal were going to get a result in every game they have left because of the amount of fixtures they've got. But I think it shows again that the rotated 11 for Arsenal haven't got the job done. Same happened at the end of last season, and the same has happened today.
Yeah, absolutely. Shadow says, what more could Kadina have done for the Haley goal? I think it's all about body positioning. I think she's got to step across Madison Haley. She's worried about committing the foul now, which is understandable, but she's got to step across Madison Haley and be more assertive in that position. But I think she just gets shrugged off too easily, and it gives Haley that... It's not much space, but it gives her enough space to get the shot away. It's a fantastic goal from a tight angle, and I think there's other mistakes that lead to that moment. But I think Kadina's got to get across there. She's got to be in front of the shot, really, or stop Haley getting to that position in the first place. But yeah, it's a really tight angle. I don't know how Haley pulls off such a good shot.
When it usually goes in from there, it's usually a shot that deflects off the defender's outstretched leg and goes in.
Yeah.
Although it still goes in, the defenders still tried to get across and has managed to get across and get a bit of a block on it. But of course, he's a ridiculous technique from Haley. But you've got to just throw yourself across her there. If you bring her down, yeah, that's unfortunate.
It's one of those. It's that kind of lazy defending where you go, well, I've done enough. I've narrowed the angle now, where she's going to have to pull off a worldie, and she does pull off that worldie. We have 8 minutes of additional time at the end of this game, which...
Well, I said it wouldn't be absurd, but
absolutely absurd.
I had no idea where 8 minutes has come from.
Haley was down for a moment there. Mead was down for about a minute, and we had 2 goals. Don't think there's many stoppages apart from the subs.
But I mean,
it's not 8 minutes.
The problem is, I was quite surprised, to be fair, that we only got 1 in the first half. But you don't make up for it in the second half. It's not how football works. You don't go, you say Mead was down, so I thought we should have got 2 or 3 minutes in the first half. But that doesn't mean that you...
Well, Mead was down in the second half.
No, she... Oh, yeah, she was. Oh, yeah.
Well, to be fair, there wasn't too many stoppages in the first half. Probably, you'd usually expect the usual 2 minutes because a lot of the ball going out of play and stuff. But, yeah, 8 minutes in the second half does feel rather ridiculous.
Arsenal have wasted 1, just kicking it around the back. Yeah, they're not pushing for it. They're not going for it because, it's very improbable they do it now. But I think from an Arsenal point of view, you want to be encouraged by the fact your side are throwing everything at it. That Brighton should be under the pump right now.
I got a notification for a Charlton goal against Liverpool. Rousseau takes aim over the bar. But I don't know if that has either been disallowed or whether it never happened because that was immediately taken off. So it remains 0-0 in that game.
Yeah, very frustrating that kicks off before this game finishes.
Yeah, it's stupidity. Just there's absolutely no reason for it apart from that. But even if you look at the angle of, oh, well, TNT have got the other game.
Yeah.
Well, no, because Charlton Liverpool's on. Oh, I guess so. You can put it on after West Ham Leeds.
Yeah. And Dozie's now down.
Or you could put it on Friday night. I don't think Liverpool or Charlton were playing in the Champions League.
No.
But yeah, there was. GT says, what would be the funniest thing if Chelsea lose to Tottenham too? And Birmingham beat Man City. And Charlton beat Liverpool. We've got Brighton, Charlton, Birmingham, and Tottenham in the FA Cup semis.
That's to be fair, that's probably what the League Cup's going to be next season. With no Champions League teams in it. But yeah, it would be...
Won't be Man City, I can do that for free.
No.
They've already confirmed they're the only team so far, apart from in England, of course.
There's definitely a world where Tottenham beat Chelsea. I don't think Birmingham are going to beat Man City, surprisingly. I think that's probably an opinion that's shared by a lot of people. If that is the case, though, I think, yeah, if you're Man City, there's a realistic chance they are looking at an FA Cup semi-finals of them, Brighton, Tottenham and Liverpool. And that would be I don't want to say very easy domestic double, because all three of those teams are very good, and of course it's not been easy just go and win the league. But as a last four, I mean, it takes you back to a couple of years ago when United won it, and they were left with, obviously they beat Chelsea in the semi-finals, but they were playing Tottenham or Leicester in the final.
Yeah. Luke says, is Rule under contract after 2026? Yes, Brighton only have one. Brighton are so well run. They've only got one, at least publicly known, player out of contract, and that is Marissa Lagers, which will be a big loss, and I'm sure they'll be keen to tie down after, especially, after performances like today. Absolutely. And across the season, she's been fantastic. So, yeah, they'd be keen to tie down. But, no, Brighton are so well run. The only player they've got expiring is Lagers. Yeah. They do need a striker, though.
But by doing that, it puts them in a position where they can focus on bringing players in the window.
Absolutely.
They haven't got to worry about contracts now. They can primarily focus in the window about what they need as a club.
I mean, Brighton and Tottenham are in a fantastic position to take advantage of any mishaps for the top side now.
Yeah.
If United had a slow season, or one of the teams in the Champions League spots struggled with injuries like United and Chelsea have this year, that's they're in that position now where if they can kick on in the summer, they can put themselves in realistic, fourth, maybe even third place contention.
I have to say, it's actually one of the worst reactions I've ever seen to going 2-0 down in a knockout game. I mean, I know it's practically over now, but as I said earlier, if you're an Arsenal fan, you want to see your side throwing anything at it. Look at Chelsea in the midweek. They scored in the 93rd minute. It didn't mean anything, but at least Chelsea fans, they got a goal. They won on the night, and they had something to celebrate. And although Arsenal probably won't win this game, you want to see them get a goal to at least show they're trying.
Found the edge of the box there. Venegas just clipping Olivia Smith, and this gives Arsenal a chance to get a shot away from this position. Venegas still not happy, debating it now with Alessia Russo. And I don't think they're going to reach any sort of conclusion on that debate. Logan says, so has she renewed? Her contract was 3 to 2026. And then update says she has renewed to 2027. There we go. Yeah, I was slightly worried there, doubting my research from earlier this season. But no. Charlize Rule does have a contract through to next summer. She's a player who's really stepped up this year.
This has got to go for McCabe.
Yeah, this is if they score this, it gives them 3 minutes to try. McCabe takes aim wide of the mark. Couldn't quite hit the target there, McCabe.
Yeah, it does well, gets it up and over the wall, but doesn't hit the target, which is kind of rule one of a free kick. Yeah, wide of the near post, and Ndozi will happily watch that sail past.
Yeah, good position for the free kick. I think Ndozi had it covered, to be fair, if that was on target at that height. Without as much pace on the board, perhaps you would need to get past Ndozi. Smith lifting it forwards, and Ndozi is just going to slow this down. She's got to realise where her goal line is at some point. No, and does. Slightly worried she's going to keep rolling that back there till she ended up in the North Bank. Ball launched away. Time ticking down now, and Brighton just trying to see out what would be an incredible victory in this competition.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see cup upsets where they hang on for dear life and they nick a goal. I mean, as you mentioned it, but Arsenal men yesterday, Southampton just hung on in there and nicked a goal late on. But this has been thoroughly deserved from Brighton. There was a spell in the first half where Arsenal were on top and Holmberg really should have scored. But apart from that, Brighton have been the better side. Arsenal really hadn't threatened. They didn't have a shot on target in the second half till the 82nd minute. Brighton have deservedly won this. They've been the better team. And yeah, they are now less than a minute away from the FA Cup semi-finals, and rightfully so.
Absolutely. Incredible performance. Ooh. Arsenal are going forwards now, but Chiamaka and Adozi filling in at left back once again.
It's just the way you think they're in trouble, and then this camera pans, this Endozi sprinting towards the ball.
Here comes Arsenal. Fox's cross is blocked. I think that rebounded back off Emily Fox, and it will be. Is it a goal kick or a corner here? I think it is an Arsenal corner. As players flood forwards.
Can they get a goal to give themselves something to celebrate? Although it won't mean too much in the grand scheme of things.
Katie McCabe, not a good delivery at all. And Pomey heads it clear. And then smashes it up the line. And that will likely be that as it bobbles through. Camacho's going to try and get there. Van Donstar launching it back the other way. Referee letting it play for now. Ford carries inside. Caldente blocked by Pomey. Rawls going to pick up the ball. One back in there by Ford. That's a couple of fouls in there. It will be an Arsenal free kick now.
They're going to get this free kick. Endozi was down for a bit. Were called for a penalty in there on Russo, and Pomey here just... No, there's nothing she can do about that. She's running backwards and just stands on the foot of Russo. You're not going to get a penalty for that. I mean, that'd be the worst. Yeah, not be a penalty.
So, free kick. In a good position here for Arsenal. And Adozi wants to keep her clean sheet intact. Shuffling our wall across. Caldente fires in. It's nodded through the bodies. It's kept alive here by Wooben Moy. Hines lifts it back in there. Nodded down. Russo. Can anyone get the shot away? It's cleared. It's not far though. It's bouncing around. Where on earth is the football? And it emerges as McLaughlin clears it out. And the referee blows the final whistle here at Meadow Park. Arsenal exit the Women's FA Cup at the quarter-final stage. A historic result for Brighton, who reached the semi-finals of this edition. And they'll find out tomorrow evening who they'll face at that round. What a result, what a performance from Brighton. And Arsenal, their wait for an FA Cup title goes on a decade now without tasting FA Cup success as they exit the quarter-finals.
Brilliant from Brighton. What a performance. What a 90 minutes for Dario Vilisic's side, who got it spot on from minute one. And that's what they've been building towards. We've seen these kind of results. They've picked up some brilliant points, some brilliant wins in the league against some top opposition. But what a victory this is, showing the quality that side have. For Arsenal, not good enough. Well beaten in the end by Brighton, especially in that second half. No reaction to going a goal behind. And then once they went 2 down, they just never looked like getting it back. Rotated side, getting caught out, fixtures getting the better of them. And yeah, Brighton, simply the better side. What a win for Brighton. What a moment for them to reach the semi-finals. And yeah, for Arsenal, once again, the FA Cup will have to wait another year at the very least.
Yeah, remains elusive. Just the Champions League left then for Arsenal to contest. You have to imagine, of course, they want to get Champions League qualification through the league. But you have to imagine now they will put their focus onto the Champions League and look to retain their crown If not, it's going to be a trophyless season for the Gunners. I mean, we can count the FIFA Champions Cup, but that was a plate, not a trophy.
It was cool.
We're not allowing that. But yeah.
But it doesn't, I think, although I think, especially from a fan's point of view, the Champions Cup goes down as a trophy on paper, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of fans out there who know that, of course, they won that, and that is, they enjoyed that success, but in the grand scheme, you're looking at the big four, the League Cup, the FA Cup, the Champions League, and the title. And if you let your rivals take those ones, it's that's they won't want that. Arsenal fans will want to take another trophy. They'll want to take. They've got to take the Champions League now, and I think that Arsenal fans will very much view it as, although it will technically be a season with a trophy in it, if they don't take the Champions League, it will be very disappointing to come away with none of the domestic trophies and to not retain their European success from last season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how this end of the season goes for Brighton. That gives them something to play for now. The Champions League semi-final. And not Champions League semi-final, FA Cup semi-final. That would be incredible.
Wow.
Brighton took Arsenal's place after beating them. That's how it works. But yeah, Brighton are loving it as they are off to the semi-finals. And they'll find out who they'll face in tomorrow night's draw. Make sure to join us live for that. It'll be live for all the FA Cup action tomorrow at 1:30. Join us as Chelsea take on Tottenham. And join us for the afternoon game, or heading into the evening, as Manchester City host Birmingham. Brighton, we've also got a game going on now, of course, Liverpool-Charlton. We won't be covering that one as they're already half an hour through, but be interested to see who comes out on top in that game. And following the conclusion of the Birmingham City versus Man City game, we will be live, we'll continue live to see the FA Cup draw, find out who everyone will face in the semi-finals. Very exciting time of the season then, as we'll say. We're back with more tomorrow. In the meantime, go and watch something else on the channel. There's loads of videos. You'll love them all. That is everything. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.